If you're interested in investing in real estate in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, and you want to learn how to grow your investment portfolio, build wealth without the risk of losing your capital, without running into real estate scams, then you have come to the right place. My name is Awele Emmanuel, the founder of Best State Investments, a real estate brokerage in Lagos. And what we do is we bring you verified properties so that you can make safe investments and build generational wealth. And most recently, we launched a webinar in January 2023, where we brought our legal consultants and our surveyor consultants to come and share with prospective and existing investors on how they can invest in real estate in Lagos in this year without getting scammed, right? So in this webinar, we cover topics like the issues of the real estate industry and how to avoid them, the common scams and the likes. We cover real estate investment strategies, what to buy, what locations to invest in, what time you should even invest in these properties, the forecast of the real estate market, and what are the projections? Is it going to be positive? Is it negative this year? We also look at the legal side of things. What are property titles? What titles to invest in? What are the different land statuses? What are the questions that you need to ask your realtor or developer before you buy land? Cover land measurements. We cover the different type of survey plans, different type of land statuses, and generally the things you need to know before you invest in any property, right? How to do your due diligence. So these are things that we cover. Locations to invest in so that you can get maximum return on investment. What are the best and the most promising locations to invest in right now? So all these and more is what we cover in this webinar, and we've saved the replay just for you so that you can also partake in this knowledge. So in the next few moments you're going to see the webinar, but before we do that, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification bell so that you'll be well informed when next we post another educational content like this. So thank you for watching. Do stay to the end and you'll be glad you did.
So in case you're just joining us, this webinar is about, how to build wealth with real estate, investment strategies that you can use to get started and build your real estate investment portfolio, and, steps to take for doing your due diligence in order to avoid, scams when you're investing in property so that you don't lose your money, right? So that's what we are covering. And that's what you're going to learn in this event, right? So one thing that everybody needs to have on their mind is the benefits of real estate, why real estate is so special. And I want us to note some key things here from this very important quote, right? So it says, real estate can not be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away, right? So unlike other investments like crypto and stocks and the likes, if you want to invest, if you want to make money this year, there are a variety of options. But I'm sure everybody here has lost money in one form of investment or the other. So safety is at the top of our minds. Where can we put our money that it's going to be safe? Because even in the bank, it is not safe because there's inflation, there's devaluation that is eating our money away. So right, so safety is very important. And so when it comes to real estate, real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchase with common sense, which is another very important point, because in everything that we do, we have to apply wisdom so that we don't lose money. Even with real estate, you can make wrong investment choices and suffer for it, right? And purchase with common sense, paid for in full, managed with reasonable care. It is about the safest investment in the world. So very powerful quotes, but it highlights a lot of things that we are coming here to address. Because in order to benefit from real estate, there are key things that you have to do. Purchase with common sense. You need to know what you are doing. You need to do your research before you invest. Paid for in full, and manage with reasonable care, right? So if you can do those things, then you can sit back, relax, and enjoy your real estate investments. And so there are a lot of problems in the real estate industry that, that a lot of customers are facing. I'm sure quite a number of people have fallen into, one form of scams or the other. And we are going to address some of that. So a bit about some of these issues that commonly occur, which we will address at this webinar are, and you need to be aware of as a buyer, even as a realtor, so that you can protect your interest when you're investing, right? So there are cases where, one common case is when a company says, oh, we have this land, and this land has a C of O title, but in reality, the land or the house or the particular property is not being covered by that title, right? So it's false. So if you buy that kind of property and you try to resell it, and the buyer does this investigation, they will just find out that this land you have actually does not even have any title. So that investment is gone, literally. There are also cases where the land is partially covered by the title. So maybe a portion of the land is covered by the title, while a portion of the land is not covered by the title. These are things that you would not know. Even if you go on the site inspection, you cannot see these things with your eyes. That's the purpose of doing your due diligence, contacting your lawyer, your surveyor to come check this land, check with the land registry, and make sure that this land is properly covered by a title, right? To get the status of the land. Another very common issue that we see is that the title of the land or the house is in process, but is being marketed as approved, right? So real estate companies do it a lot. They are not honest about the process of getting the land title, right? So some, they will say, oh, excision in process, and they will say we have C of O, but meanwhile it's C of O in process, or we have excision or gazette, meanwhile it's still in process, or they say we have registered survey, meanwhile it's still in process. So if you are not aware, and you buy a land that is still in process, you can run into issues, right? It's not a bad thing to buy land that the title is still in process, but you need to know the status of the land first of all, because there are some processes that might not be completed based on issues on ground. So you need to do your investigation and be sure that whatever title is being processed is going to be approved, right? So you need to be aware. So another common issue that people experience is the land is committed or zoned for a different use, right? So in this next section, when our surveyor comes up, he's going to let you know about land zoning, right? So in areas of in different states, they are like zoning for lands. It's even all over the world, right? There's residential areas, there's commercial area, industrial, agricultural areas for forestry. Like there are different, there are areas for that mark for education, like sections, right? So there are different zonings for different areas, and that determines what you can build. So if you go and buy land for residential use in an area that is zoned for agriculture, right? Tomorrow the government can come and say, oh, you're not supposed to build here, demolish your building, and that investment is gone. And this happens a lot. So you need to, that's one thing that you need to find out, right? Another common issue is when the land has an existing claim or court case, right? You're buying a land from one person, meanwhile someone else is fighting over the rights to that land, and they're fighting in court. You can be leaving your house today and someone else will come and say, oh, this land belongs to me, and then you have to pack out. That's another issue that is important for you to do your due diligence to find out, because you can't see these things when you go on sites. Okay, so someone is asking a question. Thank you for that question. We would answer that when it's time for question and answer, right? So, legal issues, court case, that's another very common one. And in the other sections of this training, the lawyer will cover that, right? Our property lawyer will cover that. And then, unsettled omonile, this also happens a lot of times that, you're buying land from a family, or buying a property from a family, and you buy from one member, or you're buying from a community, and then you buy from maybe the leader of the community, and other members of the community are coming to fight you that no, this land belongs to us, this house belongs to us. Another thing that is good to find out is if the seller or the developer has settled whoever needs to be settled, all the interests, all the interested parties in that property, they have to be aware of the transaction, and whatever settlements needs to be made should be done by the seller or the developer, to ensure that, you know, when you buy it, nobody will come and chase you away from your house or your land, or nobody will come and fight you, right? So those are some common problems that, you know, happen in the real estate industry that people are not aware of, and you need to know, and you learn how you can avoid some of these issues, you know, as we go on. So if you are following me, just let me know in the comment section. Are you following me? Can you hear me clearly? Are you getting value from this class so far? And I see some more people have joined in. Thank you for coming. Good morning, everyone. Okay, great. Okay, great. So let's move on. So we'll just start by taking a general overview of the real estate market, right? So beyond just going forward to the property, right? You need to have a broader view of the market. What's this market looking like? Is it promising? Because if it's not promising, it means that, you know, in the future, if the market is shrinking, if there's less demand, you know, that means you might not be able to benefit from your investment as much. So you need to know, you know, what the numbers are saying. So this is a report from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that shows, you know, the contribution of the real estate sector to the GDP, right? So currently you can see from this graph that from about 2013, the real estate has been contributing positively to our GDP, right? So from 2022, the contribution to GDP is about an average of 5.4%, right? So that should tell you that, yes, although it's not the largest sector, but it is, you know, it is a sector that is doing well, and it has a whole lot of potential, which is very, very important. The only way for the real estate industry to go from here is up, right? So so another thing that we need to look out for is, you know, demand, right? So also from the report, we can see that currently there's still a very, very high demand for real estate, and for, you know, and looking at, you know, the rental rates in different parts of the country. So rates in, you know, urban areas of Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, like vacancy rates are quite low right now, because a lot of houses are being occupied, right? So in areas like Surulere, we have less than 1% vacancy, you know, Ikeja, and you look at places in Abuja as well. We have low vacancy rate because most houses are being occupied. We have way more people than houses, so there is always going to be demand, right? So, you know, one thing that we need to be conscious of is, you know, as in terms of the opportunity that real estate presents, is the current situation of the country, right? There's a very huge housing deficit. So which stands at, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, is at 28 million now. So 28 million people don't even have, you know, access to housing, right? So, and it is going to cost a whole lot. The World Bank estimates it to require about 59 trillion naira, you know, of investment in order to close this housing deficit. So what does this mean? This means that, you know, this is a very huge problem that the government is also trying to meet, and it will take a lot of investments from the government, from foreign investors, and for private investors like ourselves, in order to close this housing deficit. So there is a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity for you as a real estate investor, because the demand is there, the need is there, and it is going to be there for a very, very, very long time. Yeah, so another thing to note is, you know, the house ownership rate. Yes, we know that housing can be quite expensive, and the poverty rate in Nigeria is high. But you can see that less than 25% of people in Nigeria own a home, right? Less than 25% of people own a home, and which is much lower than other countries like in Turkey or Indonesia or South Africa, right? So less than 25 people. 25 people own a home 25% of people own a home in Nigeria. So the goal that we should have in our mind is that, as an investor, there are a whole lot of people that are looking for places to own, even though income is not as much as maybe other countries. We are living in a time where the younger generation are able to generate income thanks to the internet, thanks to technology, thanks to new opportunities. Gone are the days where you have to be 30 or 35 or 40 before you can afford to buy a home. Nowadays, we have people who are 20, 21, 22 who are buying lands. Some of them are buying apartments. So there's a lot of opportunity as a real estate investor to be able to make money and grow your wealth, right? So let's just go into how to get started. Okay, so let's go into getting started with real estate investing in Nigeria, right? So the basic things that you need to know, and so especially for first-time investors, you have to be very, very deliberate about your investments, right? And in order to do that, this is the beginning of the year. You have your financial goals set. So also for your investment, you have to decide that how many properties do I want to buy this year? If it's land, if it's houses, you need to have that down in your mind that, okay, I want to buy 2, 3, 4, 5 properties this year. You need to have that down so that you can work towards it, and you have to be very, very intentional, right? Property is not something that you buy like you buy a car, or you just see something and you like it, right? It's something that you have to plan towards. It's something that will take time. You have to work towards it. So you need to have it as a goal. You need to set your goals, and so that you can work towards it, right? That is a more surer way of being able to achieve it than just, waiting for the right time or just postponing it. So you have to be very, very deliberate about investing in real estate. And another thing that you need to do to set is your income goals, because when you're very, very deliberate, that you need to now know, okay, if I want to buy a property as a first-time investor and the property is above my budget, how can I now increase my income? Because let's face it, yes, they are affordable properties, but to own a property is not the cheapest form of investment to get started. So you have to be deliberate about taking steps towards increasing your income in order to be able to afford investments, right? So whether you need to increase your income, whether you need to learn a skill, whether you need to look for a promotion, whatever way, whether you need to start a side hustle, or whatever way you can use to increase your income so that you can be able to afford the investments that you want to afford. That's something that you need to work towards, right? And you have to be very intentional about it, right? So also savings goals, right? Properties these days, we have installment plans, we have a variety of payment plans. And if you need to now know that, okay, this is how much I make, this is how much I want to put aside for investing in properties every single month. Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 30%, right? So once you need to set your savings goals, and you know that you're setting this amount of money aside every month to buy properties. And once it's enough to get your initial deposits, you can key into a property, and how much you'll be paying every month as your installment. So it's everything these are things that you need to sit down and calculate, so that when it's time, you will not be short, right? You will not be short, you will not miss out on opportunities. Because one thing that is very important as an investor is timing. There are a lot of opportunities that come, and it can be a distress sale. Maybe somebody has a property that because of financial situation, they want to sell it much less than the market price, right? You can see the opportunity, but if you are not ready, if you've not been saving, if you've not been deliberate about saving for investment, if that kind of opportunity comes up, you won't be able to key in because you are not ready. if you see there's a new estate that just launches now and they are selling at, a pre-launch price that is, lower than what's actually is supposed to be, and you are not ready, you will not be able to start. You will not probably be ready when the price is already high. So in order not to miss out on opportunities like this, it's important to be very deliberate and set your savings goals and work towards it, from the beginning of the year, like as early as possible, right? And then most importantly, knowledge, right? The most dangerous thing is to have money but not know how to, what to invest in or how to go about it. So, which is why we are all here. And lastly, as soon as you can, as soon as you've met your, you've met your savings goals for real estate, just go ahead and invest, right? Property prices don't come down. Property prices do not reduce. So you don't want to waste time. Once you are ready, you've done your research, you found the right property, then it's time to go ahead, right? So let's just go into the main, investment strategies that you came here for. Before we move into the legal side and the land side of things, right? So so the benefits of investing in real estate, right? So there are some of these that you might not know. One very important benefit of real estate that is important for people to know is I've seen that a lot of people struggle with holding on to their investments or holding on to money that they have. If you invest in assets like stocks or crypto, right, or maybe mutual funds, they are very, very easy to liquidate. They are very, very easy to liquidate. It might just be in a tight situation now that you could have survived, but because it's so easy to liquidate, you just go into your phone, withdraw, cancel that investment, withdraw the cash, and spend it, right? With real estate, the advantage of real estate being an asset that is not liquid is that it sort of gives you a forced savings plan, because if you buy a plot of land, if you buy a house, like you bought it, that money is there, it's working for you. Even if you feel hungry tomorrow or somebody comes up, if there's an urgent need, it's not something you cannot just easily easily just sell it based on impulse. If you want to cash out on your real estate investment, it's something that you have to think through, consult your lawyer, your surveyor, your realtor before you go about selling it. So it's a very good advantage as a forced savings plan. So you don't just spend money that you're supposed to keep for long term based on short-term needs. So also a very, very good pension retirement plan. Also very, very good for passing down to your children, right, as an inheritance, because real estate doesn't go anywhere. As long as it's well managed, it will last for generations to come. Another very important point is access to financing. A lot of people do not know this. That's why it's good to buy properties with a good title. If you buy a property with a C of O title or a governor's consent title, you can use it as a security. What that means is that you can go to a bank, use that property as a collateral, and use that to access loans, right? So if you have a property with good title, it's a security for you, and you can use that to get financing that you can use to do your business or, even buy more properties. So that is a very, very important advantage of, investing in real estate that, you should bear in mind. So if you're somebody that you need capital, right? You need capital. You can invest in real estate will help you get access to more capital because of the value and the security. It can be used as a collateral, right? Also very importantly, real estate is a hedge against inflation. Inflation now is very, very high, like it's around 20%. But one very important thing to note about inflation is that as the prices of goods and services go up, the same thing applies to the prices of houses, right? Same thing applies to the prices of houses. So as a real estate investor, you don't really lose when there's inflation, because you will raise your rents, the price of your house or your land increases as inflation increases. So you are still going to make money, right? So those are just some things to note. So what are the various investment strategies, right? So again, a lot of people just know about, just buying and renting houses. There are actually a whole lot more that, a lot of people are not aware of, which we would address. So normally we have the basics, buying or building to rent. buying or building a house to rent. And when it comes to renting, we have, the annual rent, which is the usual one you rent for a period of time. And we also have short lets, which is when you rent out your apartment like a hotel, right? For people who come in for short stays for like a day, a couple days, a week, a month, right? So that's also another way to rent out your apartment. Although the short let market is very saturated right now, a lot of people have gone into it. Even the bigger players in the hospitality industry, like hotels and the likes, they've also started using the short let model. So short lets are quite saturated now, but if it is strategically located, you will still make money. So location is very, very important when, if you are getting an apartment specifically for short lets. So another very important one is, property flipping. Now, so this is very, very key, and it's one of the most profitable strategies. So one key myth that people have when it comes to real estate is that it takes time. You have to buy a land for 5 years, keep it for 5 years, or buy a house. And if you buy a house for 50 million, the rent is 5 million every year. You have to wait 10 years before you can get your money back. That is entirely not true, right? So all of this depends on where you invest. When you invest in a location that is fast developing, you can get a good return on investment within a short period of time. So there are locations in Lagos where within 6 months, you can buy your land in January, and in June, you can sell it for profits, for 30 to 50% profits, right? So within a year, there are locations you can invest in and you can flip that land within a year. The same thing goes for houses, right? You can actually buy and sell houses within a very short period of time. You don't have to wait till you rent out your house. You don't have to wait to be collecting rent before you make money from your house. There are people who, that's what they just do, right? And I'll give you a study. Right? We had a client who bought a house from us somewhere in Lekki, right? Around Lekki Conservation Center. The house that is worth This is a house that is worth, a 4-bedroom terrace that is worth at least 65 million, sorry, right? It's worth at least 65 million. But the client was able to buy it, to negotiate it down for about 47.5 million, right? And the reason is because he just took advantage of the opportunity, because the house was previously rented out, and the tenants did not, leave the house in the best shape. So it was in need of a few minor renovations, right? So with the client bought that house for 47 million, with maximum of 3 million naira, he can renovate that house and sell it for 65 million and make 5 million within a very short period of time, right? So those are opportunities. There are also distress sales, right? If you're somebody that have capital, you can take advantage of distress sales. If you keep in touch with us, we also have clients who reach out to us for distress sales, which we can share with you. So with distress sales, there are people who are relocating, people who need money, people who, for one reason or the other, they just want to sell their land, their house with the shortest period. So they are willing to sell way below the market value. And there are investors who just specialize in that. They look for distress sales, buy a 50 million naira house that someone is selling for 35 million, fix it up and sell it almost immediately, and they make their money and they are gone. So you can make money as an investor very on a short term, right? So very, very important. So there's also commercial real estate, right? So building office spaces, shops for rent to businesses, which is also very profitable, right? I've also covered renovation for people who have capital, right? You can buy an old looking house in a good location, and pimp it up a little, make it look better, repaint it, do whatever remodeling you need, and then sell it for a much higher price, or rent it out for a much higher price. I have seen a situation where in the same compound, one person is charging a house is renting for 3.5 million, the other person is renting its own for 4 million. The difference is the interior, right? So one house is having regular tiles, the other one is having marble tiles, the other one is having more luxurious finishing on the inside, right? So if you're able to renovate a house to taste, to be higher than the standard of the other houses within the same location. You can rent it out or sell it for a higher price, right? So another key thing to note is another investment strategy is called joint venture, right? A lot of people don't know about it, right? So if you yes. So if you are, I could see that from registrations. So please can you mute your mic? Yes. So I could see from the people that registered for this event that some of you are people who have already invested. You already have your house, you already have your land, right? So if you're someone who has invested in land in a good location, in a very good location, one of the things you want to look out for is joint ventures. So you don't have to leave the land barren for 5 years, 10 years because, oh, I don't have money to build. What joint venture is an agreement whereby you have land in a good location, a location that will be profitable if someone builds. And you meet somebody who has the capital, a developer or an investor that has the capital, and then you come to an agreement that say, hey, I have this land, you have the money to develop on this land. So you develop on this land and we'll now share the units. So a typical joint venture agreement might be the developer and the investor come together, or the owner of the land and the investor come together. The developer builds like 10 units and they agree on a 50-50 or 60-40 split, something like that. So they can say, okay, the developer will take like 6 units, the owner of the land will take like 4 units. So that's a typical joint venture agreement. It can be, if you have maybe a single plot of land now, it can be maybe they build a semi-detached house. So that's, you have two semi-detached duplex and maybe a BQ, right? And you agree on how to share it. So that's a typical joint venture agreement. So if you're an investor that already has land and you don't have money to develop, if it's in a good location, you can have the opportunity to partner with an investor that will develop on that land and build a house on it, put it up for rent or for sale, and you agree on a sharing formula, right? So joint venture is also something that we help clients negotiate. So if you're here and you have land in a attractive location, because location is very important, you can reach out to us and we can help you. We can connect you to investors who are looking for lands to develop on, right? Yeah, so that's another thing. So another way you can also make money from real estate is through, just being an affiliate, right? You don't have to be active in the market, but you can partner with a real estate brokerage like us or the realtor and refer clients to them in exchange for a commission. So that's just one, passive way of also making money from real estate, right? So those are just some investment strategies that you can consider. And if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the chats, and in the question and answer section, we'll address them. Yes. So the participants. Let me just give me a second. Right, so let me continue. So when should you buy a property? Right? When is the right time to buy a property? What are the factors that you need to look out for before you buy a property? So one thing you need to look out for is you want to see how the economy is doing and what the local property market is like. And and ironically, when it comes to real estate, in times where the economy is actually bad, it's actually a good time to buy properties, because in times of hardship, people are more open to negotiation. You are more likely to get a higher discount during times when times are hard than when times are good, right? So so those are some things that you want to look out for. So there are, when the economy is bad, when there's inflation, when there's a recession, is actually an opportunity to get a very, very good deal on properties. So you want to look at how the economy is doing and what the local property market is like, right? What is there demand in the area? Is there an area that has, is there an area that has high occupancy? What's the rental value in the area? So those are some factors that you need to consider before going for a property. And when is the right time? So the right time to buy a property is actually when you can afford it. So as soon as you can, it's something that you should just start, right? But there are specific times which I'll share with you, which I'm sure a lot of people do not already know. So I would share with that. I'll share that, right? So one of the times you want to look out for, especially if you're buying, land or houses in housing estates where they are developing multiple units, the best time to buy is actually when there's a pre-launch, right? So the best time to buy is when there's a pre-launch. So this is when they're just about to launch the project, right? And they're just starting construction, or they're just about to start construction, right? So at this point in time, the price is usually lower than the actual price of the property, right? And at this time also, because the developers are looking to raise funds, they are more open to negotiation. So you are more likely to get a discount, during the pre-launch stage and when the project has already matured, right? So aside the pre-launch, you can also, if it's early in the life cycle of that estate, it's still a good time to buy. And what do I mean by life cycle? So the typical lifespan of an estate is usually like about 2 years, right? Typically from about 2 years, from when the estate is launched to when it's sold out, right? Some can be as long as 3 to 4 years, but typically within 2 years, the estate will go from launch to being sold out. And so what do I mean by life cycle? So about every quarter, okay, so every quarter to, every 2 quarters, the prices of properties are increased. So that's every 3 to 6 months, companies increase their prices. So if you're buying in year 1, right, or if you're buying in, after the pre-launch, you're still buying after maybe the first or second quarter after the product has launched, that's a good time to buy, because you still have about 1, 2, 3 more price increases. So you have room for your property to appreciate from when you bought it. But when you are buying later in the life cycle, maybe in the second year of that project, by that time, the price has already increased a couple of times. And in the later stages of the life cycle of that estate, the prices will increase as much, because what influences the increase of prices is the development within the estate, right? You can the estate without gates or fence, without any property, it cannot be selling at the same price compared to when they've already put fence, they've already gated, they've already started building within the estate. Of course, it'll be selling at a much higher price there. So the closer the estate is to completion, the less appreciation you will get from that estate, right? So that's why getting it early is always the best, right? You want to get in early, and ironically, that is the time people are most fearful, because there's a lot of doubts, there's a lot of uncertainty, because it's just early, it's just bush, you are not sure. But that's where doing your due diligence come in, so that you can be sure, even if there isn't much evidence on site, right? So and we'll cover that in later sections. So another time is special offers, right? So special offers, when you see special offers, like when there's Christmas promo or New Year promo or Easter promo and the likes, right? So those are times where you can look out for and invest, because there will be a discount, right? There'll be a discount. But another thing that you want to look out for is, which is why I said that you guys should research, right? If you want to buy a property, you want to be following up with the property, because sometimes developers increase prices before they give out discounts. So an estate might be selling for, or a land or a house might be selling for maybe the house is selling for 50 million in March, right? 50 million in March. And then they increase the price to 55 million in April. Then in April, they'll now do Easter discount, 53 million, 2 million off. And you're like, oh yes, there's a promo. You can save 2 million naira. But if you had gotten it a month earlier, you'd have gotten it for 50. I don't know if you get me. So that's another thing that occurs. So you need to track the properties you want to invest in and monitor the price changes, right? So that you know when you're investing at the right time. Because sometimes some of these discounts are not, these discounts come after prices have been increased. So another thing you want to look out for is when there's a distress sale. So when there's a distress sale, when you see that the customer is in a hurry, somebody might not directly tell you that there's even a distress, but from the negotiation, you can tell that this client is in a hurry to get the deal through. You see that the client is impatient, the client seems to be in a hurry. You can use the opportunity to negotiate lower, because the client that is in a hurry, he will not mind, especially if you are paying cash upfront, right? So you want to look out for those things. Another thing that you want to look out for, which is similar to distress sales, you want to look out for, like if you're buying a house that people are already living, you might want to look out for imperfections within the house, right? If there's a need to renovate or fix something within the house, you can use that to negotiate a discount from the seller. You can be like, oh, this thing is broken, oh, this place is cracked, I need to fix this, I'm going to spend money to do this, this, and that. So because I'm going to spend this money, you have to give me so and so discount, right? So that's another opportunity that you want to look out for. Sometimes, even if it comes to land as well, there might be one or two processes that need to be done, maybe as regards to the title or the documentation that the seller might not have done. If you're able to identify those opportunities, you can use that to buy it, to negotiate lower, right? So as an investor, you want to look out for those opportunities to negotiate and get a lower price. So this is why doing your due diligence is important. And it's important to work with professionals that can help you identify these opportunities and help you negotiate, right? So another thing that you want to look out for is hype. Yes. So when it comes to, especially in Lagos, right? When it comes to land or houses by big developers, projects that have a lot of hype usually sell a lot. And that's one thing that you need to look out for. When you see a property is everywhere, of course, you must do your diligence first, but when you see that there's a lot of hype around a property, most times a lot of investors buy hype. And in fact, a product that is more valuable will not sell as much as a less valuable project that has a lot of hype. So hype is something that you want to look out for, because when a project has hype, it would appreciate a lot within a short period of time because of the demand. So you want to look out for products that are from popular developers that have a lot of marketing, they have a lot of hype. Well, of course, you have to do your due diligence first. But once projects that have a lot of hype usually do well based on price. Another reason why hype works is that a lot of people who buy properties in Nigeria now are not in Nigeria. They can't actually come and see it, because you that is in Nigeria, you might just see people selling land in one place or inside one bush, and you'll be like, is it not this place that I know? What's all the noise about, right? What's all the noise about? So you might not be able to see it, but a lot of people who buy properties don't even come to the location. A lot of clients are in diaspora. Like about 80% of our customers are customers abroad. A lot of them don't even come for site inspection. They just trust that we do our due diligence to give them the right options. So a lot of customers are not, maybe even first-time buyers, they might not be so knowledgeable about the area and all of that, but they will still buy based on the hype. So that's why hype works. So you don't want to use your emotions as an investor to buy. You might not believe in a location, you might not be too interested in a location, but if you can see concrete evidence that there's a lot of demand in that particular property, you should invest in it, right? You should invest in it. A lot of people have missed opportunities because of that, but it is not just what you feel. You want to look at what the market is saying. right? What the market is saying. If the market is positive about a location and it looks like it's going to continue to be positive, then you should invest, even if you might not feel like you like the place, or or you believe the hype. Okay, so I can see a question. Okay, so I'll respond to that later. So so before I proceed, if you are getting value from this, just leave in the comments if you can. If you like what you've been getting so far, just drop a comment below. So let's move on. Okay, so Olusegun is saying it's excellent and an eye-opener. Thank you for that comment. So I'm glad you guys are getting value from this. So let's just continue. So yes, so when it comes to choosing the right locations, right, to invest in, what are the factors to consider? So you want to consider, business inflow and employment, which is very important, because people like to live where they work, close to where they work. So if there's an area where there are a lot of businesses around, there's a lot of commercial activity going on, that's a good place to invest in, because there's going to be demand for houses there, both whether commercial or residential houses there, right? Whether you buy land or a house in that location, that's a good place to invest. Another thing is, looking at population growth and migration. Is this an area people are moving to? Is this an area people are going to move to in the future? So also public amenities and activities. Areas where government is launching projects. I'm going to mention some locations and some of the things that are going on. You also want to look at the rental value of that location, right? The rental value, how much is rent going for, and what is the rent compared? There are some areas where the ratio of the rent to the value of the house is very low. So you want to look out for, you want to see area that the rent is high, relative to the cost of the property. And then you also want to look at, the capital appreciation, right? So, both the rental value and the capital appreciation, right? Like, so how much do the value of properties increase every year? So those are some factors that you want to look out for. And right, so if you are buying land now for the purpose of investment, which is very important, a lot of people are not sure of what they want, and they miss out on opportunities because of that. Before you say you want to buy land or you want to buy a house, the first thing you have to decide is, what am I buying it for? Why do I want to buy this land? You need to have that. Do you want to buy for personal use, like you want to build a house that you will live in there? You want to build or you want to buy land to build later? You want to buy a house that you will live in personally, right? So that is one. Do you want to buy from investment, right? You want to rent it out, or you want to buy the land to resell in the future? That's another use. Or there are some people that want to do both, right? You want to build a house that maybe with an extra unit that you can rent out. So you need to first define what's your purpose for that property first before you go into, because that will determine a lot of things. Because when it comes to developing areas like Ibejuleki, Ekpe, and the likes, people will be like, oh, it's too far. Oh, I can't live there. Even Lekki, at some point, people were like, oh, it's flooded. Even till today, some people don't want to buy Lekki because, oh, it's flooded. Oh, it's this and that. Water will enter your house, and all of those excuses. But the question you need to ask yourself is, do you want to live there? If the answer is no, do people want to live there? That one is way more important if you're an investor, right? What determines whether you should buy or not? Even aside real estate, whether it's stocks, whether it's a crypto or any other investment, demand is very, very important. If there is demand for a particular location or a particular property, it means it's a good investment. You might not like it. You might not like the location, you might not like the conditions there, but if people want that place, if people are moving into that location, then that's a good place to go. Like I said, Lekki, for example, you might not want to live in Lekki because it is flooded, it gets flooded, it's close to the water and all of that. But from now till for many, many years to come, there's no end. People are always going to want to live in Lekki. The rent is always going to be expensive, and anybody who has a house in Lekki is going to make money. So if you like, say it's flooded, or you like, say it's not flooded, anybody that has all the landlords in Lekki, they are balling, they are making money, they are cashing out, they are traveling all over the world, they are living large, right? So if you like, don't invest because you're afraid of flooding. If you're not going to live there, then that one should not really be much of a concern. But if you now decide that you're buying a place to live, yes, you should consider all those things. So you need to just define what you want first of all. The same thing goes for land. Places like that are far away, like, or maybe Ibejuleki, Ekpe, and the likes. Yes, those places are far, right? They are far. But the question is, are you buying it to live there? No. If you're buying it for the purpose of investment, what should be on your mind is there any demand in that place? What's that place going to be like in the next 5 years? Right. And if the result of your research is positive, if you see that there's a lot of demand there, people are buying properties there, it looks like a place people are going to live in the next couple of years, then by all means you should invest in that place. Investment is not something you do with your emotions. You do it with logic, with your research and your analysis, right? So in terms of locations for land now, places that have a lot of growth potential, you have Ibejuleki, you have Ekpe, you have Badagry, you have Lakowe. So most of these places are mostly on the island, and I'm going to explain why these places have a lot of potential. So first of all, this is because of a lot of the developments that are going on in that area, right? So for example, in Badagry now, they are going to be developing a new seaport in Badagry, right? In addition to the one that we have in Apapa, and in Ibejuleki too, there's also a Lekki deep sea port, right? So in Badagry, you have a port. In Badagry, you have because of the beaches there, you have a whole lot of hotels, resorts there. So that's like a very good holiday destination. A lot of people go there for that purpose. So there's the tourism aspect. There is the employment and development aspect based on the new government projects going there. And when there are opportunities for employment, where there are opportunities for commerce like tourism, there's going to be demand, there's going to be need for housing, and that is going to also lead to an increase in value of lands and houses in that area over time. You might not see it now, but you need to look at the trend. Same thing goes for Ibejuleki and Ekpe. We have a whole lot of projects going on. Lekki, Ikeja, Yaba, Lekki, Ikoyi, VI, all those places are saturated. All those places are saturated, and the population of Lagos is not slowing down. Where are people going to live in the next 5 years, right? It's not going. Lekki cannot accommodate everybody. Ikeja cannot accommodate everybody, right? Ibejuleki, Ekpe, those are the new places that people are going to be living in the next couple of years. And there is a whole lot of developments going on that will support that growth, right? We have the Lekki Free Trade Zone in Ibejuleki. There's the Dangote Refinery. These are projects that are going to be active this year. You have the Alaro City, which is a mixed-use land where you have residential and commercial. They are building a self-sustainable city that is bigger than the size of VI. Everything is within that city, right? They have their own water, they have their own power, they have their own everything. You have industries there, you have tech communities there, and a lot of big multinational companies have already got land there to set up their businesses there, because it is within the free trade zone, and in the free trade zone you don't pay tax, right? So also in the free trade zone there are a whole lot of industries there. And I'm coming to a point. Also, we have the Dangote Refinery, you have the Lekki Deep Sea Ports, and more recently there's a new Lekki International Airport that is in Ayetoro, Ibejuleki. Now, For a lot of people, it doesn't make sense to buy land near a refinery. It doesn't make sense to buy land near an airport. Airport is noisy. Refinery, there is pollution, right? So why would you want to do that? It doesn't even make sense, right? But back to the question, the important question that you need to ask: why do you want to invest? You want to invest to grow the value of your capital. What if there's one thing all these places have in common is that all of these developments are going to be employing thousands of people. Tens of thousands of people are going to be employed in this area because of this development. There are going to be a lot of businesses that will come up to serve all the thousands of people that will be working in these places, and they'll be passing through these different developments every day. So what is that going to cost? And all of this is going to happen within a short period of time. So what is that going to cost? That's demand. There's a demand for housing. There's a demand for businesses that will provide essential services to all the people that are going to be living there, right? So that is what you as an investor need to look out for. You might not like living near a refinery, but people are going to need to live there. So, and you can be their landlord. You don't have to be their neighbor. You can be their landlord, right? So that's something that you need to think about, right? So, and we have seen a lot of appreciation in these areas, like Ibejileki and Epe now, for the last 2 years, and the trend will continue this year. We've seen as much as 100%. That's like double. Lands that are selling for 2.5 million last year will be selling for 5 million naira the following year, selling for 10 million naira the following year, because of all these things that are going on, and the prices are not going to come down anytime soon. And another thing, if you think about like foresight, what makes people want to stay on the island, or some people want to stay on the mainland? If you're on the island, you have everything there, right? Entertainment, education, commerce, business, right? You have the airports there. There are now trains that have been set up on the mainland. Like everything you want is on the mainland. The same thing for the island. And that's the same thing that is coming to this Ibejileki and Epe axis, right? There's a seaport, there's a refinery, there are business districts. In Epe, you have resorts, right? You have resorts, so there's tourism. There's tourism, there's entertainment in that area. You have a lot of beaches in that area. So pretty much the same kind of system that you have on the island and mainland is also coming to these areas, right? So people are going to live there, and they will pretty much have no reason to even come to the island or mainland, because everything that they want is there. So as an investor, you need to be looking at it that, you know, this is where people are going to, and I want to be their landlord, right? I want to take advantage of the appreciation that is going on there, right? So so those are the locations that you want to look out for, right? So if you want to buy a house to rent, right? Of course, if you want to buy a house to rent, you want to be renting in places where there is demand and it's fully developed, places that are close to where a lot of people work, close to business districts and the like. So of course, you have the Ikoyi, VI, Lekki, Aja, Awoyaya, Shongotedo, Abijo, Lakwe, Yaba, Yaba and Bagada. Those two areas you are seeing price of rent increasing pretty much, because a lot of infrastructure have been put in place there, and they are very easy to come from the island, to get to the island, because you can easily access Third Mainland Bridge. So people who would originally want to rent in Lekki and now move into those areas. So yeah, so there's demand. So there's demand in these locations, and if you're looking to rent a house, these are places where you'll be able to get a good rental value from, and they still have growth potential, which is very important. There are many areas that are not listed here, but growth potential is something that you should look at for the future. Let me see. So just give me a second. There's a question. Okay. Okay, so we are coming to the end of this first section before our legal expert comes up. So yeah. So what to invest in, we've already covered that. You know, your residential lands, apartments, holiday homes. If you are going to use, so holiday homes. So besides even doing short lets in places like Lekki, Ikoyi, and Ajah, so places that are also very promising for holiday homes are near in beaches and resorts, right? Because they usually have way more average rental price than your regular apartments, outside, right? So land, commercial properties, and the like. So those are like different options to invest in. At the end of this section, we would share some properties in our portfolio that we think will be a very good starting point for investors here, and we'll also share a special offer on this project. So if you stay to the end of this session, you'll be able to benefit from that, right? So I've already touched on this, the two major ways to make money, right? So besides just renting your house for cash flow, or keeping or just buying land to keep, right? You can actually enjoy both of these. You can actually enjoy both of these modes of growing the value of your property. So for somebody that is just getting started, what are the steps that you need to take? Even if you've already bought a property, a lot of people just buy, based on vibes, based on emotions, right? But there are steps that you need to take. So first of all, you want to have a budget, right? And that budget to determine the location and the options that you can invest in, right? So after you have your budget and you decide on, whether you're buying for investment or for, a place that you want to live in, then you have to now do your due diligence, right? Research the title, research the real estate company, so researching the developer is also very important. A lot of people, that's something that a lot of people don't consider, but give me a second. Okay, yes. So besides also researching the property, you want to research the developer. Like, what's the history of the developer? Are they credible? Do they allocate? You might want to speak to other people that have invested with them. What's their experience like? So yes, so you also want to research the developer and know what their history is, because you cannot take anybody's words. You will judge them based on how they have performed, right? So, after doing your research, then you want to go for your physical or virtual inspection. Then you go ahead to make payments, get your documents, and do your allocation, right? So you can do all of these steps by yourself, or you can work with a real estate brokerage like Best Investments, and we can help you take care of a lot of these steps and save you the stress. Yes, because there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you will not know, but based on what we do, we know, based on our experience in the market, we know what goes on, and we can advise you on what to do. So what to invest in. So just just running down a few questions that might be on people's mind, like, okay, should I invest in a land or should I invest in a house? If you're on a budget, and budget is very important, because we have clients that have a budget of maybe 3 million and they're looking for a house or a land in a location that is sell for 10 million, right? So if you're on a lower budget, you just want to go for land. If you're just starting out as an investor, the best thing to just start with is just getting land in a good location, right? Getting land in a good location. And one very important thing about getting land or even buying a property is that you don't want to always go for the cheapest option, right? That's a mistake that people make. People go for the cheapest option. See, the most important thing, especially when you're just starting, before you might want to even start taking risks, the most important thing is safety. You want to go for a good option that is safe. It might not be the cheapest, because even me myself that I'm talking to you, I'm also an investor, right? I also have invested in land before. And even as a real estate consultant, as a realtor in the market, I did not buy land from the cheapest. Not because I did not want to save money, but I want to have peace of mind, right? I want to have peace of mind. And even though there were other developers that were selling at a more affordable price around where I still went to a credible, a more reliable option that was more expensive, but I had more certainty on them being able to deliver on the project, which is very, very important. Because if I've seen it, I've met a lot of clients that have gotten cheaper options and now they are regretting. So instead of looking for the cheapest option, you want to look for the best option for your budget. It's not about buying going expensive options, not like I'm trying to sell you, but you want to look for the best option for your budget, not the cheapest option, right? The best option for your budget. So one very key thing to note. And within real estate, you can also diversify, right? So if you already have land, you can afford to go for an apartment. By all means, you can get an apartment. Even if you have residential land, you can also get commercial land in a good location. So there are different ways you can diversify your investments. Another strategy to use especially when you're buying land, is to spread your investments. You can pick a few of the developing location, get a few plots in each one of them. And you would see that even in different estates, some might appreciate more than others. Some you'll be able to get a return more than others, and you can benefit from the advantages of the different ones. Another thing that investors, which is very smart, is that if you can, is advisable to, if you're buying in a location, it's advisable to get, you can afford to get more than one plot, get at least 2 plots and above. The reason is because you never know what might happen in the future. Sometimes you might need money urgently and you sell the only plot that you have and it's gone. If you have more than one, you can sell and watch the development of that place. You might see that even after you sell, a lot of things start going on and the prices increases, right? And but you still benefit from that appreciation. A lot of people have sold too early and they've missed out completely. So if you have multiple units, it's not advisable, except there's a strong reason. It's not advisable to just sell everything, right? You want to just wait and see. Real estate is a long-term game. Yes, so very important one I want to talk about: off-plan versus fully finished. If you're buying a house, which one should you go for? So the truth is, it depends on your budget, right? I'll just quickly run through this. If you have the money to pay in full, I would advise you to go for a fully finished house, right? If you have the money to pay in full, just go for something that is fully finished. Yeah, so if you have money to pay in full, it's advisable you go for a house that is fully finished. And the reason is because before, it used to be that off-plan are generally cheaper than the market value. But with a lot of events that have happened in the last couple of years, especially COVID, right? Before COVID, off-plan apartments or houses are cheaper than, you'll be getting at a cheaper price than the fully finished one. But what happened during COVID? Cost of building materials, some building materials even tripled, and it now became very expensive to build. So houses that if you're buying a fully finished house that was built before COVID, you'll be able to get it for less than an off-plan house that is built after COVID, right? So so that's one advantage you can get. If you have the money, just go for something that is fully finished. And if it was not built recently, you'll be able to get the fully finished one at a lesser price than a house that was built recently, because now the cost of materials is really, really high. That's why newer houses are expensive, right? And the price is not going to come down anytime soon. Off-plan, if you need to buy and pay over time, yes, off-plan is the best for you, right? You just do the off-plan and pay in installments, right? Pay in installments. We have off-plan options for as long as 24 months. I would not advise going for an off-plan for more than 2 years, because for a couple of reasons, and I'll tell you why. So at least this is why we are here, tell you what's really going on. So there are some cases that have happened where because there are a lot of investors that want to buy off plan, but they are not sure if the estate is going to deliver. So they wait till the project is almost completed and come in with with the cash and come and pay for the houses. So if there are cases where some estates on long payment plan, maybe 3-4 years, and someone just comes while people are still paying, and someone just comes to pay in full for remaining units, and they have to now decide in between waiting for customers on long installments to finish paying or collecting the money in full. And so if some companies just go for the cash and they just tell you that, oh, sorry, we are sorry, but your unit is no longer available, we'll refund you, stuff like that. So those things happen. So that's why it's good to also do your research and buy from a credible company, especially if you are doing off plan. The developer is more important than any other thing. Even if everything else is good, the history of developer is very important. You want to make sure that they delivered on a project in past and they have a reputation to defend, right? And yeah, so you need to look out for that when you're going off plan and try to avoid as much as we need long payment plan. If you want to do more than 2-3 years payment plan, it's best you go for a mortgage. But I would not advise going for maybe 4-5 years payment plan. Another disadvantage of that is that the interest is usually very high. The interest is usually very high. You might be paying as much as if you're doing a above 2-year plan, you can be paying as much as 50% interest as interest at the end of the plan. So it might not be the most profitable. It's just best to go for a mortgage if you really need a longer term plan, right? So so those are some of the differences between buying off plan and fully finished. So if you're buying off plan, questions that you need to ask, you need to know when they are delivering, and you need to monitor them. Another thing you can do when you're doing off plan is do a milestone payment, because if they tell you that they are going to be building this house in 2 years and 1 year has passed and they've not done anything, then you have to hold them to their necks and say that, okay, by this time you're supposed to have been 40%. You're supposed to have gone like 40% of the way. So you have to hold on to your payments until you see significant work on site. So you need to just follow up and yes, to follow up with that. But one advantage of off plan is that no matter the project, the price when it is completed is always going to be much more than the price you got it. So with an off plan, you can invest and sell it once it's fully built and make your profits without you don't even have to start renting it out or using it. You make instant profits on completion. So that's one advantage of off plan. So the choice really depends on you. So those are just some things to consider. If you have any questions, you can just drop them in the chat. So let's move on. Okay. So should we go with a developer or should we go with a realtor? My own advice is to go through a realtor or through a real estate consultant instead of going directly to the developer, because the developer is always going to be, it's their product. They're always going to tell you, oh, we sell the best product. They're always going to tell you positive things. A good realtor is not a good neutral. A good realtor, good brokerage is a neutral. They can advise you without their emotions being involved, because there are various options in the market. So you have to look at the different ones and compare the advantages and disadvantages. A developer will always want to sell their product to you. So you have a better chance of finding the best option for your money if you go through a realtor than going directly to a developer that will limit your options. So okay, yeah, there's one question that I missed out on, which is whether you should go through a developer or go through Omonile, right? There are people who want to buy land at a cheap price, and they always want to, they feel like if I go directly to Omonile or the family or the village, I will get it cheaper. Yes, if you go directly, you will get it cheaper, but it also has a very, very high risk, which the other speakers will cover. And that is because for a variety of reasons. So first of all, and I'll give you a case study. We had a client that bought land from Omonile as opposed to a developer. And after buying the land at a cheaper price, he now figured out that, you know, he had the full responsibility of providing infrastructure for the lands that he bought. The road is not done, the fence is not done, power infrastructure is not there. He has to now provide everything. At the end of the day, providing the infrastructure, doing the road in front of the house, putting all the things he wants in place, at the end of the day, it now costs more than actually buying that land from a developer. Because when you're buying from a developer, they take care of the infrastructure for you, right? Saving you that cost. So that's another thing to consider. Another thing to consider is developers will also do, it's their responsibility to settle whoever needs to be settled, right? Developer buys from Omonile. If there are 10 families, they are supposed to make sure that anybody that is involved has been settled, and you know, they provide security and all of that, that you can access your property in peace. If you go directly to the Omonile, you have to do all those negotiations yourself. So if you are not experienced, even if you buy legitimately for one person, another person can come from somewhere and tell you that no, you have to do that. You cannot come here, and they will fight you. And before you know, you give this one money, another person will come, give me two, give this one, give this one. By the end of the day, more and more people keep coming. Some people have been chased out of their lands because of the power struggle. So there are a lot of risks with directly going to money. So if you are not experienced, if you don't have experience, maybe you have an experienced lawyer or surveyor that can help you, people that are local, people that are on ground, people that have direct relationship with the families or the parties involved, is not advisable, because the risks outweigh the rewards. So that will just be it for me. Thank you all for listening. I will come back at the end of the session to talk about, just give you a few selected or property offers that are on the market, and a very special offer for you that are here. And so in the next, so up next, we'll be bringing our property surveyor to share with us, what you need to know before buying land, like the real details, land sizes, different survey documents, how to do your due diligence, what is charting, where you can go and find out the history of the land and all of that. So those are the things that you're going to learn in the next session. So just stay with us as Mr. Olushola Areo comes on board. So Mr. Surveyor, over to you. So
thank you very much, Mr. Iman. Thank you very much. My name is Olushola Areo, and I'm a surveyor. So pleased to meet everybody. So sorry, I'm in transit. I have to off my video once in a while. So can you hear me? I want to know if you can hear me.
Oh, I think yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Are you going to be if you are going to be done maybe within the next 30 minutes, then maybe the lawyer can come on board and then you come after. Does that work?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So in like 30 minutes, you'll be settled.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So okay, that's fine. So please bear with us. He will join us. He will join us very soon once he's settled. So in the meantime, Mr. Ayo Babade is a lawyer who will come on board and share with us legal side of things. And bear in mind that these professionals that we're bringing on board are not just, they are not just people we just brought just for this event. These are people that we work with at Best Investment. These are people that help us verify the properties that we offer our clients. So you can be sure that, you can be sure that you're getting something that is genuine when you're getting a property from us. So Mr. Ayo Babade, please, over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so very much, Mr. Emmanuel, for that very excellent first session. Thank you so very much. Can everybody hear me? If you can just type yes in the chat box. Just type yes in the chat box. And I also sincerely appreciate everyone who has been on this call. Okay, thank you very much. I see the yes. I also have everybody who has been yes in the morning learning and dropping comments and questions. Yeah, and for those who ask questions on the WhatsApp group, I'm sure Mr. Awele would equally bring them also here so that we can be able to answer them here. Mr. Manuel, you want to share the slides or you want to share the slides at your end so that we can all see the slides and then go on? Mr. Manuel?
Yes, you can. Are you on your computer? You can share your slides.
Yeah, no, it says you've disabled slide share.
Okay. Let me do that now so you can share now. I've changed the settings.
Okay, no problem. So just give me a few seconds to open. Yeah, can we all see the slides now? You can just type yes in the chat box if you can see the screen. If you can see my slide, just type yes. Okay, thank you, Abdulrahman Ibrahim. I see. I've noted the legal questions in the chat box as well. And by God's grace, we would treat all of them very soon when we get it. So thank you everyone for joining. Mr. Emmanuel, how many minutes do I have so that I can know how to apportion time to the various slides that I have? Okay, while it would come around.
Yes,
so,
like 30 minutes. Yeah.
30 minutes. Okay, that's very fine. I'll just quickly go through the slides. So I'm Ayaba. I'm a lawyer and a real estate broker. So I've been in the industry since 2015, and we've assisted a number of clients to buy and sell and to go through their acquisition process. So we'll just quickly go through two major aspects today. We'll talk about the legal principles. We'll do that in roughly 5-10 minutes. And then we'll spend about 20 minutes thereabout on the titles to land and their legal significance. And then we would have questions and answers. So I'll just in the chat box, we will treat the questions there, and then we will equally answer that. So in brief, there are a few things that are fundamental in real estate. And then one is something called, so I wrote the Latin maxims as well as what it means. So one is called the quick plantatus solo sede. What that means in simple English is that whatever is attached to the land belongs to the land. That is why when people want to buy land or buy a house, they will tell you what title does the land have? Even if they are buying a 10-story building, the question is, what title does the land have? Because the person that owns the title to the land owns the house on the land. So that's why they'll ask, what title does the land have? What title, even if you're buying a house, you're buying a story building, you're buying a duplex, it is what title does the land have? Because the title of the land is whatever it is on it equally as. And then the second, what we talk is caveat emptor. I'm sure you'd have seen the caveat emptor written on buildings. You'd have seen it written on some buildings. What it means is that buyer beware. And so it's a legal principle that means that in a property transaction, the person that would find out whether what they are buying is good or not is the buyer. And so that is why it's the buyer that does the due diligence, is the buyer that is to ensure that he or she is buying what is right. Because when issues go wrong, the rule is caveat emptor, that is buyer beware. And so the buyer has to take note, has to make sure that he or she is not buying something that would have issues. The third one, which are basic fundamentals, is the fact that by the general law, or what we call like the Bible of real estate law, is called the Land Use Act. And that's the main law governing the right to land, how land operates and all that. And Section 1 of that Land Use Act says that every land in the state resides in the governor of that state, and he holds the land in trust for the benefit of all Nigerians. And that's a very loaded section, but just touch on it a bit. The first is that the governor of the state is the one that owns, that has a right over the land. That's why, for example, it's the governor that gives you that gives you the CFO. And after you sell your land, the governor also gives what we call the governor's consent, because of these provisions of the Land Use Act. And the governor holds the land in trust for the benefit of all Nigerians. So the right to own land is given to Nigerians. So foreigners don't have a right to own land. Non-Nigerians only have a privilege to own land. It's not a right. But as a Nigerian, you have a right to own land anywhere in Nigeria. But a non-Nigerian would have to apply to the governor of the state for an interest, for the right to hold interest in land. If you have questions, or if you have a client or a foreign client wants to buy, you can always ask. There are ways you can advise appropriately. They finally need to know that ownership of land is evidenced by documents. So you cannot say I own malt and own it only in malt alone. You have to own land. If you can say I own land and own it only in malt alone, when you own land, there must be documents to show that you indeed own the land. And so that's why every transfer of land, there must be a written document showing that this land was transferred from one place to another. We'll touch on a land called, even if somebody gives you land, for example, a father gives a child land, or a man gives a church land, and so I have the land somewhere, a church, go and build on it. Even if you are gifting the land to somebody, you must have a document showing that indeed you have gifted that land. And that document in law is called a deed of gift, because you must have a written document showing that this land was given to me by this person for one purpose or the other. If there is no document evidencing that transfer of land, then in law it doesn't happen, or the other transaction did not occur. So there must be an evidence of documents. So you are paying for land and all that. Even if the receipt alone is regarded as a land document, as it were, because you show that the payment of for 1 million naira for one plot of land in so estate and all that, that document, there are evidence to show that yes, indeed, a land transaction occurred. And so transfer of land has to be done by deed. So somebody is transferring either from buyer to seller, from father to son, from husband to wife. That transfer has to be done by a deed. Are we following? Like we said earlier, if you have any question, you can put it in the chat box so that we would treat it in the last probably 5 or so minutes of my time. Then there are various titles to land that we shall touch on this morning. And you can see the first one there, I put an asterisk on survey plan because there are some practitioners that believe or argue that survey plan is not a title to land, because on one plot of land, you can have 5, 10, or 20 different survey plans. And so that's why some argue that because of that, it is not a title to land. There are also some school of thought that argue that because if a survey plan is registered, you can use it to chart, you can use it to know where the land falls under and a number of things, that because of that, a survey plan is a title to land. So there are arguments back and forth as to that, but whatever school of thought you meet anyone having, you understand that yes, some say it's a title, some say it's not a title. I follow the school of thought that believes it's a title because there are people who have just received and surveyed on a land and they can validly transfer that title from themselves to somebody else. And so if you do other things and you are sure of other factors, and then you can validly do that, which you are touch on in the next few slides. So the first one we'll touch on is a survey plan. And it basically is just that, and then the surveyor is coming, and I'm sure it will dwell more on what a survey is, what the use of a survey is, survey search and all that. So I won't talk too much on the survey plan because there's a professional that is coming to build decisively on the title. But just in general, is attached to your deed. So basically you can own, if for example, you own a plot of land in XYZ in best state estate, for example, if you own a plot of land there, the survey plan will tell you which particular plot of land you own. To show you the shape of the land, where your land starts from, where your land ends, what the shape of it, what the size is, and a number of things there are what the survey plan would show. And there are a number of things on survey plan which I always use as a basis to discuss other things in titles to land. The first thing there is that you will see to show you the name of the owner. Like I always tell people, if you are buying land as a couple, I'm sure many people would have known that you don't use Mr. and Mrs. and Lagbaja. You would have to use the full name of the Mr. and the full name of the Mrs. So let me just use the name I see. Let me just use, for example, if the person is Mr. Oluyemi Femi Akindeju, and the woman is Mrs. Lucy Mary Akindeju. The way you write is Mr. Olufemi Oluyemi Femi Akindeju and Mrs. Lucy Mary Akindeju. That's how you write, so that you write it in full, and you don't just write Mr. and Mrs. or you just write anything like that, because there can be many Mrs. and it can be his mother, it can be his sister, it can be anything. So it's always nice to write the person in question in full. Then the shape of the land, the size, and all that, the surveyor will dwell more on that after. Another title to land that we'll touch on is one that a lot of people have come to know about by virtue of Bejuleki, which is called excision. And then there are various types that we see. And thankfully, one of the things that Mr. Emmanuel talked on was the fact that many people who their title are in progress would sell it or advertise it as if the title has been concluded. And that's one reality that we see on ground. Excision is one of such where excision can be in progress, and there are people have called a different name to color the progress of it. They'll say, oh, excision in process, excision block, excision this, the village excision, family excision. They'll call it different types of it and kinds of things. But what indeed is excision? And then in brief, basically what happens is, like I told you, one of the fundamental laws of real estate is the Land Use Act. Section 1 gives the governor the right over a land in the state. Then there's Section 28 gives the governor the right to take over land for something called overriding public purpose. And then what that simply means is, under Nigerian law, the right of a community supersedes the right of an individual. And so in most African countries, that's how the laws are designed. Unlike European countries where an individual right supersedes the community right. But in Nigeria, in Africa, the community rights supersedes individuals' rights. So you have a right to own property. But if there is a need for a school in an area or an hospital in an area, they can revoke your right to property to provide an hospital where many people would use, as opposed to just a house where you and your family will stay in. So that's pretty much, and so the legal principle is, they call it overriding public purpose. So there's an overriding public interest in that land that overrides your own individual right to own land, then the governor can acquire that property. And so if they want to do something massive in an area like airport, seaport, a golf course, a housing estate, or an housing scheme, if there's a need to acquire land, then the governor can revoke the rights in that area for that public purpose. And when the governor does that, they also understand that they are right, that individuals who own the land in those places. And what they do is to do one of three things for them. The first one they can do is what we call a compensation. So they can take their right to the land and give them money for them to go and acquire land anywhere they like. So that's compensation. So for example, many people who had C of O on their property along where the Fort Mainland Bridge is going to be, about 800 houses would have to be demolished, but they'll be compensated for that Fort Mainland Bridge that will pass there. And so once given compensation, the second thing that they can do is to resettle them or reallocate them somewhere else. So they can take over your land in somewhere and give you land elsewhere. So that's the second thing that can be done. The third thing is, if the portion that should be used has been used up, then they can excise the land back to you and say, okay, we acquired this land, we acquired 100 acres of land for this project, we have used 50, the remaining, we want to give it back to the land owning families. And so that's what an excision is. It's a process where a previously acquired land is given back to the land owning families. And that in brief is what excision is. So like you know, excision is given to a family or a community. You can't give an individual or a company in excision. It's a family or a community. But there is a number of things that also goes into excision, and a number of not so good practices that occurs in excision, which for want of time we would not go into all that. But that in brief is what excision is. Then another title is something called a gazette, and these are titles that you would see in many of the Betleki properties. So in general, a gazette is a book where the government records all the activities. So for example, when a law is passed in a state, they'll publish it in a gazette. If there are promotions in the ministry or any ministry, they'll publish it in a gazette. If there's a notice or something to be told to the public, they'll publish it in a gazette. So also, after the governor has given back land to communities, they publish a gazette stating, one, it will state the area, it will state the size of land and the community and all that. It will be stated in the gazette. And so from that gazette, you cannot just do a governor's consent to whoever it is given unto. Madam Vivian, please, you can kindly mute yourself, or thank you very much. And then so you can just do that. So those are basically the way a gazette operates. And then so that's in brief is it. So many things happen. So for example, there are instances where somebody can, probably a family, if community were giving, probably the area is called let's say Ikeja Gazette now, and then they might just give them 50 acres in Ikeja. But sadly, some families can use that gazette to sell other land in the area that does not fall under that gazette. It occurs in practice sadly a lot. Or they can sell more than the amount of land they give them in the gazette and things like that. So that's why even if you have a gazette, like the rule is always do your due diligence before you acquire any property, so that you can be sure that the land in question falls within the gazette that the family is claiming the land falls under. Another certificate of occupancy, a lot of us know, we have heard of it one time or the other. Oh, a CFO, those land have CFO and all that. And then, like we said earlier, the land belongs to the land, all land in the state is held by the governor in trust for the people. And then the governor issues out a certificate of occupancy to individuals for a period of years. For residential land, is for an average of 99 years that the governor gives that right to that land. In the picture you have, there's a picture of the old certificate of that of occupancy. There are newer ones now, the EC of O, that is white or plain paper, and add some security features to determine the authenticity of those documents. And then it recognizes the right of that individual. And so most times, if you want to acquire a loan from the bank or you want to use property as a security, most people or most financial institutions are more secure when you present a CFO or governor's consent or those very assuring titles to the property. And then so basically it's for 99 years, and people often ask, after 99 years, what would happen? And then the position is that after 99 years, the current title holder would simply apply to the government for a renewal of the interest in that land for that period of 99 years. And so that, in brief, is what occurs. And like we said, every transfer in land has to be done by a deed of assignment. And that's a document that shows that the right to the land is being transferred from one person to another person. And that's basically how it is. And once with that deed of assignment, you can use to obtain your COO or your governor's consent, or for those who own the deed prior to the Land Use Act, they can do what we call a registered conveyance. So that's what the governor's consent looks like. That's what the registered conveyance looks like. And there are also quite a number of other titles to land that are there that I'll just touch on in brief because of time. So we are looking at so yes, we have things like deed of deemed grant. Basically, so a deed of deemed grant occurs for, so there are people who owned rights to land prior to the Land Use Act coming into being. And then so, well, basically in brief, we're just touching on all these ones in brief, so that you can, if you see those titles to land, you know that it's not as if they are non-existent, but that those are also titles to land that we have. So there are people that own land before Land Use Act came into being. And then those families, those communities that are known, what they have the right they have in law is called a deemed grant or a deemed right of occupancy. So if you want to buy from those families or communities, what you will do is a deed of deemed grant that will be used to obtain your certificate of occupancy. So the name of that deed will be a deed of deemed grant that you're going to do. Then another one is what we call a deed of sublease or subunderlease. So for example, if somebody has a certificate of occupancy for 99 years, for example, and the person now sells 50, is right in 50 years, does a deed of lease for 50 years after that 99 years to somebody else, the document of that transfer is called a deed of lease. That is, I'm transferring the rights over my property for 50 years from myself to you. If the holder of that is, so let's say Mr. A has a CFO, he does a deed of lease to Mr. B for 50 years. Mr. B now wants to sell it to Mr. C. He wants to sell 25 years out of it. And Mr. C, 25 years out of my right in this land, I want to give it to you. The document from Mr. B to Mr. C will be called a deed of sublease. Then Mr. C can now say, okay, my 25 years I have, I want to give Mr. D 10 years. That is a deed of subunderlease. And so, and on, a fraction of the remainder of the rights you have, you can always transfer it with a deed of sublease or subunderlease from one person to another. Then another one we have is something called the crown grant. And basically, by virtue of, there was a deed between the then Oba of Lagos and the Queen of England that ceded a part of Lagos or the entirety of Lagos, in the entirety of then Lagos, to the Queen of England. And then so by virtue of that, there are times when they were to the colonial master, some of the colonialists that owned land in Nigeria, the Queen of England gave them rights to those land by virtue of a document called a crown grant that was issued by then Her Excellency the Queen of England. And so I remember just saying, the Queen of England. And so that's why you have those titles to land that still exist. So people who bought from the then colonialists still have crown grant as a title to land, and registered in the land registry. You can always do a search on those documents. Some part of Ikoyi, some part of Yaba, some part of Lagos Island have crown grant as the right or the title on those lands. The estate conveyance I told us earlier, those that had deed of conveyance before 1978, when the Land Use Act came into being, what they had was and they registered that conveyance at the land registry. What they would have be registered conveyance. And to the deed of gift, if one is giving a gift to a church, a school, your daughter, your wife, and all that, the document you will use is a deed of gift to show that I'm giving this person this property without the person paying me any money. The document of transfer will be a deed of gift. Then deed of mortgage, and then deed of release. So if you loan money to buy a property, the original documents will be kept with the financial institution, while what you would have will be a deed of mortgage that will be given to you, and a copy will be registered against that or that title document you have. And then once you have finished paying your mortgage, you'll be given a deed of release. The letter of allocation is the one given by the state. So if somebody gets a land within any of the GRAs, what you'll be given, one of the things you'll be given will be a letter of allocation. And so that is the weight you can put on them. You have to look at two things. First is that letter of allocation is still valid? And two, has the person paid the statutory fees on that letter of allocation? If both has been done, then you can go ahead. So you just find out at the letter of allocation, is that letter of allocation still valid? And the person paid all he ought to pay on that allocation. Once person has done both, you can go ahead. If the person has not done either of them, then you can just end the transaction there. Then we have court judgment or registered court judgment. Basically, there are people who own the right to land by virtue of a court judgment or an order because saying this person is the owner of the land, this person is not the owner of the land. But there are two things to note about court judgment. One is that the final judgment on that matter. So you can have an high court, after high court, you have a court of appeal, then the Supreme Court. So one can have judgment at the high court, probably lost on appeal, and may even lose in Supreme Court. But best can be using the high court judgment to be selling to you. So is that the final court on that matter? The second to note is that the final judgment on that matter? There are two different things. So you can have an high court judgment that settled the matter, and that's the final judgment on that matter. You can have a Supreme Court judgment that was not the final judgment. So for example, a party can say, oh, I have an interest in this land matter. Let me be joined as a party to the suit. The argument of whether or not the person can be joined as a party to the suit can be argued to Supreme Court. Supreme Court cannot say you have a right to join to be a party of that suit. Therefore, High Court join him as a party to this suit. That Supreme Court judgment is not the final judgment on that matter. Just a judgment saying join this person as one of the parties to this suit. So that Supreme Court judgment cannot be used to sell the land. You know the Supreme Court judgment. Because I've seen some people say, oh, I have Supreme Court judgment. And when you read the judgment, you're like, it doesn't confer any right to this land on you. It's not the final judgment in this matter. You can have a high court judgment. Most times it's a consent judgment. Both parties say, okay, if there was fighting and 20 years in court, let us agree on what to happen on this matter. They can do a consent judgment. Most times, those consent judgments at the high court, if it passes a number of days, then it becomes absolute, and that's the final judgment on that matter. So you need to know both. But the best rule or best advice I give is that if you have a document, give it to a lawyer to read it and interpret it for you. Because I've read many court judgments, and some of them were not even relating to the land at all, and people are using the judgment to sell. I've seen some where the court judgment was talking about the next land to the land in question, and another family is in the land, the judgment to sell. I've seen a court judgment that even said the family selling were not the ones that had the right to sell, but the families were selling with their court judgment saying they want to appeal the judgment. So they were selling the land with that same court judgment. So there are so many things we've seen. So I tell people, give a lawyer, let him read through, and then advise you on what that judgment is really saying. Then the next thing one will touch on is what we call the letter of administration or a probate grant. That occurs when the owner of the property has passed on. If the person leaves a will, then the will be entered into probate, and then the person who the will says owns it is the one you can deal with. The person can put in, oh, my property, my land in so estate, give it to my son, so. So is that son you can meet that would now legally transfer it to you. But you have to be sure that the probate registry to probate grant is on it, and that is the last will the person wrote. Somebody can write a will probably a few years ago, giving it to somebody. He may change his mind before he died, and then wrote another will, giving it to another child or another person entirely. If you are not sure that, if you don't find that that's the last will, you might buy from the wrong person and then run into issues. But if the person died without a will, what they will do is a letter of administration. And so it's with people that wrote letter of administration that have the legal right to sell that property. And then the last one, I said, is receipt and survey. Once you do your search on the survey, you do there are about 5 searches that you can do to be sure that a property is good. The first one is the land registry search. Second one is survey search, to take the survey plan, go to the general's office to find out who is the land acquired, is it free, is it committed, and all the other things around it that the surveyor will touch. Once you do all the search and you are sure that the land is okay, then go to the area, do a social search, ask people around, oh, is this land good? Can I buy it? Once you do all the searches and it points out that the land is good to buy with a receipt and survey, then you can purchase that property. So that in brief is the end of this. I hope I did not spend too much time on that I still went into. Oh, I think I probably even rushed much more than I thought I was doing, because I didn't want to spend too much time on this, because we have spent quite a lot of time here since then. Yeah, so I'll just go in brief to the questions that are in the chat box so that we can there's one by Olusegun Folano that it says that I need legal advice on transactions whereby there's a delay in delivery and the property captured by offer letter, and the realtor is asking for additional funds, claiming that inflation has caused price increase. How can one go about this? Honestly, it's something that we have had to deal with in the last few years, because from like Mr. Emmanuel said, from when COVID tax happened, prices have been going up. In fact, there are transactions that we are involved in where some of them have had to even be suspended because of the way prices of materials are. And so it affects both parties. Both the developer is saying, I cannot even deliver on the price I had said earlier. And the client is saying that, oh, I budgeted to spend this amount on this property, and now you're telling me to pay much more. Can we end it? So this is one of two things that we do. That I will say, okay, let there be the contract is frustrated in that wise. If the developer can refund the money of the person that buys, and then goes to somebody else and then sells it, and then is able to make his money, his makeup, because we cannot say it should sell, or it should this specific performance to conclude it, and may not be able to complete it at all based on the reality of things on ground. So those are things that one would have to do to advise to others. Okay, then the transaction come to an end, refund the client's money, and then sell it to a third party for full value, and then get your money in full, or to write to the buyer and say, please, there are acts that is beyond us. Let there be an increase in the amount that you pay, so that we are able to meet those obligations midway. And I think it's more of a mediation than one should be saying he wants to be strict on the law. But if he wants to go all the way and say, oh yeah, I have a right to this property, that each performance case in court, we spend a lot of time in court and it can go either way. So I want to advise one of two things. That you say, okay, I didn't plan to spend this much on this property, give me my money back. It can be a refund in full, and then the person goes to buy the property he likes. Or he says, okay, based on the reality of things on ground, this is the amount about to spend on it. Let it be an increase to meet that obligation. I think that is one way one can do it. So that's just one advice that we regularly give. There's a question by doing Obabire that where I misplaced the receipt, can agreement be a valid document that I can hold on the land? Yes. So even if you have misplaced the receipt, once you have your deed of assignment between you and the purchaser, that is valid and subsisting. But what happened here? So if it's from a land-owning family or from the moneyless, and that receipt is lost, if you want to do a C of O or an order, you may need to go and obtain a receipt again from the landowning families, and you may need to pay a bit more, but just obtain the receipt from them, and you can use that to do your whatever you want to do. But if you just for equitable transfer, like you have your deed of assignment already and you don't have your receipt, with your deed and your survey, you can validly sell to somebody else. I hope I answered that question as you desire, doing Obabire. Then Kayode Balokun is asking, what land title holds the most precedence of ownership? I think what I think he's asking is that what is the most assuring title to land? By all means, most people rely mostly on a C of O. But like I said, from a legal perspective, C of O, as good as it is, I've seen many cloned and forged C of O in the few years I've spent in the industry. And so there's no title that is assuring. Just do your due diligence. And once you are sure that your due diligence has been done, then you can go ahead and buy a property. So I've seen some receipt and survey that are even stronger than some CFO that has issues. So just your due diligence. Like I said, there are about 5 you will do. The first is called the land registry search. You go to the land registry of the state where the property is and do a search. So if it's Lagos, you go to Alausa. If it's Ogun State, you go to Okemosu. And the rest, your land registry search to be sure that the document you have matches what the person is giving you. Then 2, you do a survey search. One of the things surveyor will tell you is that the survey search will let you know, 1, if the land is acquired, free or committed. 2, it will tell you if there is a current or a future purpose for that property. And so, for example, January last year, someone wanted to buy a property around Aja, and then the land had a CFO, was owned by a top Navy official. I told you it was free, and then we did a search. We found out that it was 2 plots. One of the plots was within the actually, because at the time the person bought it in a very lot, about in the 1980s was when the person bought the land, and then and already had a CFO on it then. But they had expanded the Lekki Expressway. One of the plots was within the express. The second plot was within the setback, and so we told her not to buy it at all. And now they are currently expanding to get there. So even if that's a CFO, as at the time the person obtained a CFO, the property may be free, but there may be other things that may have come up that made the property not to be free. So a survey search is often advised. Then you can do what we call a court registry search to find out if there's a court case on the matter. Is there a court case on it? And if there's a court case, you would have been decided fully. If there is none, you would know. Then you can also do a probate search if the party owner is late. Is there a letter of objection? Is there a will? And you do that to find out who you can validly transact with. And finally, a social search. Go to the area, ask questions from the Okada men in the area, from those that, oh, this land, do you know anything about it? Has it been fight there or anything? Find out those things before you go ahead and buy. So no title is perfect. Just do your due diligence on any title, and once your due diligence checks it out as clean, you can go ahead and buy the property. There's a question from Ahmed F. please, I have to go. Okay, yeah, okay, no problem. We send you the recording. Someone is asking, you will get his slide. I've sent it already to Mr. Emmanuel. We send it around. Please, how do you identify fake titles? Just do your due diligence. Like I said, do a search. So if someone gives you a CFO, do a search at the land registry to be sure that it accords with what the person is showing you. If it's fake, you would know. If it's original, you would know from a search. Gani is asking, is it important to register deed of assignments in a magistrate court? Are all these documents mutually exclusive, or how do we know which are some of the required combinations? So first, Gani, you don't have to register your deed at the magistrate court. So what happens is, what people do at the magistrate court is to do if any of the parties is an illiterate, what you do is an illiterate jurat at the magistrate court to show that you interpreted the details to the illiterate and all that. Where you register your deed at the land registry, that's where you do your governor's consent or obtain your CFO. The magistrate court is only for the illiterate jurat session there, and not a place to register deed of assignment. Register it at the land registry, where you obtain your governor's consent if there's a registered title already, or you obtain your CFO if it's an entirely new document you are doing. Then our document mutually exclusive. Yes, due to what you need is, so there are about 5 documents that you need on any land transaction. The first one is your receipt of purchase. It can be a simple paper saying, I so collected the sum of so from this person for one plot of land in this area. Thank you. That is, a receipt is one. Secondly is a deed of assignment, showing you the exact portion of the earth that is your own. Sorry, a survey plan, showing the exact portion of the earth that is your own. The third is the deed of assignment, saying that I I have sold the land to this person for this amount and this one. The fourth is if there is an earlier document the person has on that land, you collect everything. If the person had a CFO before, if the person had a deed of assignment, every document the person had before he sold it to you, collect all the original. That's the fourth. Then the fifth is if you are building a house, you get your building plan. Those are the documents that you need. So depending on what the title was before and what it is, your lawyer will advise you on which one to go for at every point in time. Then Nodin carry the order saying thank you very much. I appreciate. Then okay, I can identify fake titles. I've done it. Adinka is asking, is it advisable to buy a property with no registered title? Is it advisable to buy a property with a clown signature of the root title owner? I don't understand the second question. Adinka, you can just simply help me type the second question. But the first question, is it advisable to buy a property with no registered title? It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. But like I said, 80% of properties in Nigeria are not registered. So if you say you want to buy a registered title, you may not invest in land at all. So that's what I always say is that still do your due diligence. And once it checks all the other boxes, you can go ahead and buy it. Get a lawyer to do due diligence. Make sure that the property, there are no issues, there are no fights and all that. And then you can buy. Because 80% of properties in Nigeria don't have any registration at all. People just buy and sell every day without registrations. So a large number of transactions will not be done if you are saying you don't have a registered title. But it's advisable, like I said, get a real estate lawyer to do the due diligence. If all the boxes are checked, they can go ahead and transact. If not, it's not advisable for you to go ahead and transact. So then so we have to do proper due diligence of titles over time. Yes, I always advise within even within in Lagos, for example, the Fort Mainland Bridge, the route it was to pass before, they did what we call a realignment, because the earlier route it was to pass before, about 2,000 houses were to be demolished. So they had to realign or reroute the Fort Mainland Bridge to pass a new route where 800 houses will be demolished. So it may have been in a place where under the former route, it was going to pass your house. Now they routed it to pass somewhere else. So somewhere that was free before can now be acquired. Somewhere that was acquired before can now be free. So that's why up to the, if you do a search now, the person that does the search will give you a report saying that as of today, this is the status of the land, because tomorrow it can change. So somebody that was free yesterday can be acquired today. Somebody that was free today can be acquired another day. So that's how it is. So I be able to do the day you are signing, you can still run a search again to be sure that what you are buying is genuine. Etunde Ige is asking, please, we all require a recording of this. Okay, Awele would answer you. I think I was asking again, is it advisable to buy a property with a clone signature of the root that? Oh, with a clone signature? Obviously not. You can't, if the signature is cloned, you can't, the damage is fake and is not original, then you can't transact in that at all. There were a few legal questions sent in earlier, which I'll just quickly touch on before the end of my own section. Someone was asking about, Samuel Amiaka was asking about how can I get access to NHF fund to invest? And again, so basically, what for that you can easily go to their primary mortgage institutions that you can speak with, open an account with them, and then you can use that to access the NHF loan. So also you go to the primary mortgage institution, discuss with them. You have to open an account and you have to contribute for about 6 months. After that, then you can now access a NHF loan. You pay a certain amount and then they will process the rest. And then you can use to do either a new building, a redevelopment, and all that. They would advise you as to how best to go about it. Then somebody was asking another question again. Okay, I've answered the legal question. I think that's basically it for the legal aspect. Let me see if I noted any question earlier so that I know I've touched on all that needed to be touched on.
Okay, can you quickly touch on the difference between excision and gazette? Because I know you mentioned it, but it's still something that confuses people a lot. So excision and gazette, and I think also a bit on how for people that buy lands without a title or with a basic title like a survey, can you touch on how to go about securing the land for that? If you buy a land without any document, or a land with just a survey plan, so how they can secure it,
Yeah, so thank you very much. So on excision and gazette, so basically a good way to look at it is the final, what I always use in local parlance, that the final bottom of excision is a gazette. So excision is pretty much like the process in which you get the gazette. But the challenge we've had is that because of how slow excision has been in Lagos, that's why we're having a lot of the issues we are having. Normally excision and to the gazette process should be about 6 months to maximum 2 years. But sadly, since the last excision that we really had was under Fashola, throughout Ambode's tenure, there really wasn't an excision. Throughout Sanwo-Olu's tenure, we have not seen any excision as such. So that's why we are having those issues. But after a land has been excised, the first place you will see it will be at the Subordinate's office, where they would map out the excision. Then once it has been mapped out at the Subordinate's office, then the governor would sign it into like an order or a law. Then it can just be published. So that is how excision and gazette works. So the last part of excision is that a gazette will be done. Then about securing land without a CFO, I was trying to not to touch so much on things that have to do with survey, because I know a surveyor is going to deal on that in general. So that's why whenever anything deals on survey, I always leave that alone, because somebody more qualified than me is around, so that I don't tell you something that he may want to touch on, or he has a better knowledge on. But with that as it may, so if your land just has if you don't have any no matter document you have, once you have done your search and your search has been cleared to go ahead, get your documents, like I said, get your receipts, get your survey plan, your deed of assignment, all the documents the owner has, and as soon as possible, go and obtain your CFO or your governor's consent, depending on the title earlier. If there's no title, obtain your CFO at the earliest possible time. So go to the land registry and register it against your name. That's the best advice that I can give in that circumstance. I think there's a question in the chat box there's a new question there. So that's Mike Manson. That's so for deed of sublease, the land will revert back to the owner after some years. Yes. So at the end of that period of time in the deed of sublease, then the land reverts back to the earlier owner. That says somebody has a CFO for 99 years, Mr. A CFO for 99 years, sold it to Mr. B for 50 years under a deed of lease. Mr. B sold to Mr. C for 25 years under a deed of sublease, C to D for 10 years. So after 10 years, it reverts back to Mr. C. After the many years of Mr. C, it will revert back to Mr. B, then back to Mr. A. So that's what happens. After the period in the lease, it reverts back to the person who earlier had that title. And it was a question by Oluyemi Akindeju that how do I tie my pension contributions to real estate investment as someone currently still in employment or service? I'm not really sure I fully understand that question. I think somebody probably in the finance sector may be a better position to answer that. Abraman is saying, how much does a good real estate company pay their marketers who sell their property? Basically, it depends. So we have the real estate companies, and then we have a number of players in that industry. But under for Lagos has what we call the Lasrera law. That's the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority law. So what that law says is that for real estate agents who sell for you, the percentage of commission is 10% for estate agents that sell for you. So either rent or sale is 10% is what you pay to the estate agent that does any transaction for you. So it's now being made into a law in Lagos. So because there's been argument over how much is commission, someone say 5, someone say 2, someone just give any amount they like to the agent. But now by the lateral law, you have to pay your agent 10% commission on every transaction that they do for you. So that's that. So then Oluyemi Akindeju is saying for collection purposes, considering the peculiarities of the geographical location, do these principles apply in other climes, or are they majorly applicable within Nigerian context only? So basically, real estate is country specific, and so everything we've been discussing earlier has just been for Nigeria alone, largely for Nigerian laws alone. Every country has its own rules relating to real estate. Who can invest, who can buy, who can sell. So Latin, but what we are saying is for Nigeria alone, as it were. That's why we are saying the law we are using is the Land Use Act, which is the main law that governs buying and selling of properties. So I think with that, I've pretty much covered everything. Abraman is saying, I have a land article do which I bought from a real estate company, and they only gave me receipt. But without my knowledge, I have in the industry now, CFO. How do I do the CFO so that I can fence the land with my gate? Yeah, so what happened is, since you already have, you've given a receipt by the real estate company, you can use those documents to obtain your own CFO at the land registry of the state and where it is. But what happens before you do that, ask the company if they intend what they intend to do. Some companies will only give you a receipt, why they now do the CFO for the entire estate. So confirm from them if they intend to do CFO for the entire estate before you go ahead and do your own CFO, so that you are not on different pages on that process. But if they are saying that they're not doing anything, your receipt and deed, that's the end, then you would have to go and do your own CFO by your own. Then Johnson is asking, what role does demand notice plays in land acquisition? There are many things that demand notice. There are many demand notices that can come. So I'll need more specification on what particular demand notice you're talking about. Because, for example, when you are doing, if you're building, there's sometimes that you could come and paste demand notices on your land and all that. So I'll need more context to know which particular ministry is issuing that demand notice and for what. and that will determine how I would answer that question. Then Abdurrahman is asking, Mr. Awele Emmanuel, you can just talk to him for anything regarding whatever, and then you can always route it to us if the need be. So for any briefing or engagement, you can just discuss with Mr.
Okay.
Awele.
So for anyone that wants to do their due diligence,
yeah,
and titles and all of that, they can reach out to us, and we would guide you through the process with our consultants, which are also the speakers. Yes. So just reach out to us.
Okay. Yeah. Then there's a question from Olasumbo Osuoji. That is governor's consent a land title? Yes, it is. There's a land title in itself. You can do a search on a governor's consent at the land registry, and then you would see it there when you do a search on the governor's consent. So you need a land title, to the title to land that you can use. So I think I've answered all the questions relating to legal issues on the call. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry, I suspect I was talking quite fast. I wanted to cover as much as I can within 30 minutes I was giving, so that we don't overboard. And we started since 10, and it's over 2 hours. So I'm conscious of people wanting to do other things. So that's why I was talking a bit fast. You can always replay and then get things that you may have lost or not gotten. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. I'm indeed very, very grateful. Okay, someone is asking for the questions submitted to the platform. Let me just quickly see now if there are, let me just quickly check in now and see if there are any legal questions that are on the platform that one can answer. But you can also help by equally just probably copying and pasting it here so that I can just see it and answer it once. But I'm going to the platform now to see the questions relating to law that is for me to answer. Okay, average commission to be charged, I think that has been answered, is 10%. Build for sale versus build for letting, which is better? I think Mr. Awele answered that in the question earlier. Depending on your projection, depending on what you have, both of them have their plus and minus.
Yes. So I think so. If you are, we have different type of investors. We have short term, we have long term. So build for sale. If you're a short term investor, you don't want to tie your money down. You do build for sale. Some people, they just finish building, or they buy once it's completed, they sell it off. So if you're a long term investor, then you can do build for rent. So it depends on your strategy.
Yeah, so on the group, I see Leverage Streams Limited was asking, I would like to know what is needed to start a real estate business as newbies and progression phases to take note of with likely challenges. I think Awele can talk on the business side. I'll just touch on the legal side. So basically, to start a real estate company, the first you would need is you incorporate your company, either a business name, company limited by shares, for your real estate, and that's the first point of call you do. After you register your company, then the next thing you will do is register with a professional body in the industry. So if you are coming as on the agency side, register, you can register with AEN or any of the NIEs or any of the real estate agency bodies. Then after that, register, if you're in Lagos, register with LASERA, that Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, register with them. Or if you are going to the development side, you register with REDAN, that's Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. Register with REDAN, then you will now register with LASERA afterwards. So LASERA is all for all real estate practitioners within Lagos State. After register with LASERA, then you do your registration with the EFC, that's the SCMUL, the Special Control on Money Laundering regulations. So you register with with the EFCC, SCMUL, and once you have your SCMO number, you can open your bank account, and then on the legal side, you are pretty much good to go for that. But on the business, on the marketing and all that, I think Mr. Emmanuel can advise as to what to do, social media marketing groups to join and all that. He would advise appropriately in that regard. No, sustainability of real estate business, he has spoken on that earlier, on that, and I think that's about it. Then on the chat box, when there's a breach of power of attorney given to a property manager by property owner, what is the best thing to do? So basically, there are two things to do. One is, so I always like to do what I call practical, usable advice. And then, yes, we have the law, then we have what operates in practice. So one is, yes, you can take legal action against the property owner by saying you gave me a power of attorney for 1 year that I should do this, and then since you are doing what you're giving the attorney to do, it can legally take the person to court. But one thing I always realize is that in practice, if you do that, yes, you can win and then get your damages or your money or your commission out of that transaction. But in the long run, you lose more business. That person will tell everybody, if you do something bad to somebody, they spread it faster. And it's something good that you do. That one realtor will tell everybody that they should not do business with you again because of that action that you have done. And so you lose more in the long run by saying, I want to take my former clients to court. And so what is best to do is to try and resolve amicably, use ADR options to see what can be done in that situation. Because if someone says that I don't want to use you again, it's more to ask the person, what do you think I did wrong? Or what you were not satisfied with, than saying, I want to take you to court for this breach of contract. What should the average commission be? We said that is 10%.
I think let's leave questions to the end so that we can quickly get through.
Yeah.
We have, yes, so we can.
Yeah, so I think that's, I was trying to make sure that Mr.
We'll just cover them at the end. Let us not, because we are short of time. We want to just quickly show, what we have in store for you. So we'll continue with the questions at the end. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think the Xavier is back. He can take over so that we can end as quickly as possible. I still appreciate everyone once again for your time and your patience, and thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with us. That was very, very enlightening. I'm sure everybody here can agree. So I want to quickly run through the offers that we have before we continue with the before we wrap up with the surveyor. So let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, let me see. I don't know if you can see my screen. Please, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I showed up earlier, but it went back.
Okay, let me share it again. Just give me a second. You just give me a second to. Okay. So so thank you everyone for joining and staying with us up to this point. So what we want to do for attendees of this webinar is from now till the end of the month, if you are acquiring any property from us, we'll be giving you a 10% discount on the initial deposit. So the initial deposit you're making is 1 million, you get 100%, 10% off. So that's, 100K off. If it's 5 million, you get 500K off, but the maximum discount is 500,000. So you can get as much as 500,000 naira discount on any property that we're selling. And like I always say, there are a lot of properties you find in the market that we are not promoting. We don't promote everything, but we promote what we are sure of, what we've checked. So I'll just quickly share a few offers that that we have. We have quite a number of offers. I can't share everything with you. If you need something that wasn't shared, you can always reach out to us. But we'll just quickly share you some options that I think are really good and you can invest in. So from the lower end to the higher end. So a couple of land options. And so first of all, in Ekpe, which is an area I advise people to invest in, the Bejuleki Ekpe area, because of all the advantages I mentioned earlier. We have a very affordable property going there, which is the lowest price property that we have, which is 2.5 million. You can see how Ekpe, you will get land of 1 million in Ekpe before. It's very hard to get a good land in Ekpe for that price now. Very hard. You can hardly see, right, for a full plot. So here you can get a plot for 2.5 million naira. It's something that we've checked, and the status of the land is good to go. You have 6 months free payments. The initial deposit is 500,000 naira. So you can pay 500K and then spread the balance without any interest for 6 months or as much as 12 months, right? And they currently have an offer where you buy 6 plots, you get 1 free. The site is already fenced, it's already gated, the bushes have already been cleared. So it's a site that is being actively developed. It's not, like an abandoned project. So that's one offer that, we think is really good and people should take advantage of. Another offer in Ekpe is called Dukia Africa. It's more on the higher side, but it's a very interesting project because they are building a tourism, sort of like a tourist attraction. They are building a resort, and they're giving people the opportunity to own. Giving people in the opportunity to own lands and houses in that resort, so you can actually, be able to build a rental apartment for people coming to the resort, or buy one of the houses that they have there, because they have also houses in the resort, and then rent it out to tourists that come there, right? And it's in close proximity to the airport, the new airport, and all the other developments going on there. So you have good return on investment. It's very close to the major road. A lot of work has been going on site. So we have more details, more videos on this, just to quickly run through the prices. Right, so for Dukia Africa, the prices starts with 8 million for 200 square meters, 7.5 million for 150 square meters. And if you're wondering what you can build on all these different land sizes, our surveyor is going to cover that. 15 million for 300 square meters and 22 million for 500 square meters, right? All of them have a 12 months payment plan, and you can get a bungalow for 12 million naira. This is pretty much the cheapest bungalow you can get in the market, a 1-bedroom for 12 million naira, and you can pay over 12 months, right? So those are some offers that we think are very unique. In Ekpe too, we also have another estate in K2 Ekpe, which has good documentation. And okay, so someone is asking, for Coral City, is there a minimum period for you to develop the land? No. Coral City is a long-term investment, right? It's not a it's actively being developed, but it's a development that you want to buy and keep. So it's for people who are not going to be looking to develop within the next maybe 5 years, right? But they have continuous plans for the estates in order to make it a place where people can live and develop, right? And so you're under no pressure to develop the land. You can just buy and keep till the estate is fully developed, and you can resell at a profit or build at that time. So there's no pressure. for Coral City. And for this is another estate in K2 Ekpe, going for 5 million naira, but it's also an estate that we verified. Again, these are not the cheapest properties on the market, but it's the properties that everything about it is, is secure. So you can buy with the registered survey title. You can easily go and do your C of O. Nobody, you don't have any, you are not fighting with anybody. Yeah, it's safe to buy, right? So another very good offer that we have is this 3-bedroom bungalow in Awoyaya, which is one of the emerging locations. What's nice about this bungalow is that you have up to 24 months payment plan, which is not very common. Yeah, 24 months payment plan for a 3-bedroom bungalow with a BQ in a fully serviced estate, right? And it comes with a complimentary solar panel, right? You have solar inverter and CCTV cameras complimentary, right? Fully serviced estates with parking space for up to 4 cars. So it's a very nice, it's a very, very nice development that we think you are going to like. And for more inquiries, you can always reach out to us. So those are just some of the offers that we just handpicked in these developing areas. Another very good one is called Fairmont Green and Smart Estate. So this is located directly opposite the airport, right? The airport. So you have a question? Yeah, so this is located directly opposite the new Lekki International Airport, right? So if you have an idea of the market value of lands around the Ikeja Airport, they are very, very expensive. If you want to get a plot of land now, maybe you see a like 3,000, 4,000 square meter plot of land, because nobody's going to sell you 300 square meters or 600 square meters. It goes for as much as 1 billion, 1.5 billion to get a portion of land around the Ikeja Airport. So there's a lot of appreciation that comes with properties around the airport because of all the commercial activities and the likes. So this is an opportunity for you to own it at the inception, right? So this also is in this axis, this Ayetoro Ibeju-Lekki axis, this has the longest payment plan. So you can do 24 months. You can pay for this over 2 years and you can get a commercial plot of land, to build businesses that can cater to the airports, people who come through the airports. And you can also do a residential apartment, do a short-let apartment. The choice is yours, but it's a very good opportunity. And the title is also very good. It's a C of O title. So government allocated C of O title. Yeah. So those are the options that we have in store for you. And on any of these options, we have comprehensive video coverage of this estate. So if you want to see what it looks like and all of that, you can just reach out to us and we'll share all more information with you. And the offer still stands to get a 10% discount on the initial deposits. All right. So we'll just move into the last section. I know we've taken a lot of your time, but we have so much value for you guys. And so thank you for staying up to this point. And at this point, I'll hand over to the surveyor, Mr. Olusola Areo. Thank you so much for sticking with us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. I must say, you got the two speakers have actually touched so many things, and I will just be brief because I know that it takes so much time. I'll just be brief. I'll just explain some things to you and maybe take a few questions, and will not take much of your time, between 15 to 20 minutes, and we can go back to whatever we are doing before. Okay, so I want to be sure you are hearing me. So let me just get a few messages from you that you are hearing me clearly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. So my name is Olusola Areo, and I'm a surveyor. And one thing let me start with saying that one thing with estate investment is we make sure that before we push any product out, we do a lot of checking and to be sure that the land is viable to sell. Do you understand? So And we understand that it is very important that whatever investors or realtors, any products that they are pushing out or that they are buying, it's very important that it is safe and secure and it is free from all encumbrances and government acquisition. So I want to tell you some things that you need to be careful of. There are some things here that I would really love to have enough time to share and share you some of my experiences. I've been practicing now for uh, more than 4 years now, and this with the little experience that I have, and if, especially in Lagos real estate industry, honestly, it is very important to be very careful of what you are selling and of what you are buying when it comes to land property in Lagos. You know, Lagos property is very porous. So many lands out there are committed. Any land that does not have any title. I heard somebody asking the other time that can you buy a land that has no title attached to it? Any land that does not have title in Lagos State right now, especially in Bejuleki, Axis, Bejuleki, Etiosa, and some other places, is by default in government acquisition. It is called Lekki acquisition because if you do not have any title like an institution or a gazette, it is by default an acquisition. So, and I've understood that many times people are so scared about, oh, I'm buying a property. Then I checked or I heard that the land is inside acquisition. Do you understand? And most times I just laugh a lot of times when I see uh, people clamoring that it's a no-go area. Sometimes some acquisition are not actually um, something that you should be scared of or you should run away. There are some acquisition that you can actually ratify. Do you understand? There are some acquisition that, or let's say maybe you made a mistake into buying property that falls inside an acquisition and you are not well aware of before, and then you think maybe you've lost. You might actually, in some cases, you might not actually lose the land because there are other steps for that you can do. Do you understand? Like I remember, I think last month somebody contacted me that he bought a land in Sangotedo, you know. So he got the land at a distress sale offer. And then he just quickly bought it and made sure that, wow, this is a good offer. So it was after he had bought, did all that to do that, then he found out that, he needed to even be sure that the land can be documented. Oh, no, I think it was at the stage where he wanted to document. It beckoned on me to do his register survey and everything. Then when I went to decide to pick coordinates, and I found out that, this land, you cannot process your register survey. Do you understand? So when we now checked, we found out that the land is inside acquisition. He was so flabbergasted and he was so unhappy. He thought maybe he had lost and all that. So, but when we searched for it, I told him that he could actually ratify. Do you understand? So there are so many things. So I will talk about ratification too as it goes. So if you have any question, please drop them. It's my head actually not talking too much. You know, your question might actually help me just be brief about it. Do you understand? So I want to talk about what you need to do before buying land. Do you understand? So I believe if I touch this expressly more, I'll be able to touch many other things that Mr. Emmanuel wants me to talk about. So before you buy land, it's very important that you do 3 things. Number 1, to do land status check, to do land information charting, and to verify any document, I mean title, that is attached to the land. So Barrister Ayo has talked so much about land title, so I'm not going to delve into that. So, but I'm very sure by now you know what excision is and what gazette is. Gazette is similar to C of O, and excision is just a gazette that is still in process. Do you understand? And then register survey is not a title, but it is a valid document that is required for you to be able to process your field documentation for a land. Please, let's be careful. There are so many, though what makes register survey title is when it is attached to a deed. I see so many companies where they give documentation to clients. I mean, estate developing companies, real estate developers that give documentation to companies that in the deed of assignment or the contract of sale, or let me just say the deed of assignment, they will not put the required information that is inside the register survey, inside the deed of assignment. I mean, in the deed of assignment, it must carry the exact location of where the land is. Otherwise, the deed of assignment is not valid. At the time when you want to process your CFO, because part of the requirement for a CFO is that you have a register survey and deed of assignment and receipts. Do you understand? Maybe also other requirements might be to tax clearance, your valid identity card, and several other things. But it is the most important thing is your register survey and your deed of assignment, then receipt. Now, for the document is give out to clients, they don't put inside the deed of assignment the register survey, the information on the register survey of their own land that has the name of the company attached to it, and the register survey or the document or the register survey of the client. So at the end of the day, when the client maybe after years is ready to now do the CFO, get into the land registry, it bounce back, and then at that point we find out that you can't even process your CFO because the document is not valid. So at all times, when you go to collect your documents for your clients as a realtor or probably as an investor that you bought land, check your documents, be sure that all this information are there. I mean, the plan number, the survey plan number, the register survey plan number of the company you brought from, and your own personal register survey plan number in the document, and the coordinates, the quoting coordinates of the location of that land. Otherwise, the deed of assignment can be for any location on the portion on the surface of the earth. Do you understand? So, and if the documents the deed of assignment that you collected is not even attached to a particular location, then it is invalid. Do you understand? So it is important that you check the deed of assignment and be sure. And then let me talk about investments in some other places like in Ekpe. There are so many things I want to touch, but I understand that there's no time, and I'll just be brief about it. Now, for Ekpe, there are many. Ekpe is actually right now. Ekpe is not urban. Ekpe is rural. Do you understand? Ekpe is rural. So most land in Ekpe is freehold. That's why in Ekpe you not hear anything like a session or gazette. The only thing you can see is either a freehold or register survey or CFO. Do you understand? So in Ekpe is the only place in Lagos where Ekpe is well planned. Honestly, Ekpe is beautifully planned. You have in Ekpe places that are zoned for agricultural use, places that are zoned for residential use. You have places that are zoned for commercial, industry, and so on. Now the Alaro City is in Ekpe, and that portion of Alaro City is zoned for industrial use, and that's why Alaro City is there. Do you understand? Some other places like Igbonla, Igbonla is mostly agricultural use. Some places in Ilara, in Ekpe, is residential. Some places in Ibejuleki too. In Ibejuleki, that Ibejuleki, there's still a portion of it that is in Ekpe. When you get to some places after Folu to Odeshe and all those places, that boundaries with Ogun State is still part of Ekpe. Do you understand? So I'll tell you is now for every land as a realtor that wants to sell or as an investor that want to buy, it is important that you know the type of land you want to buy and the purpose for which you are buying. Do you understand? If you are buying for agricultural purpose, then you have to be sure that the property you are buying has the land zoned for your purpose. Do you understand? And if you the only way you can know all these things, the only way you can be sure that you are buying land that is zoned for your purpose is by doing chatting. You understand? You have to chat. What is chatting? Chatting is knowing the land information status of a property, knowing whether it is free or not free. When you chat, it's not only to know if it's free from government acquisition, it's also to know the purpose of that property. Do you understand? There are some places in Sangotedo, in Bejuleki, that is not fit for residents. Do you understand? There are some places in Ekpe that is not fit for residents. Do you understand? That is not residential. So the only way you can know is when you chat. And who does chatting? Is surveyor or does chatting? There are so many times that people go to lawyer to check lands for them. Sometimes when it comes to chatting, they come back to a surveyor. And the truth is, not all lawyers, please be careful of this, not all lawyers are property. Do you understand? There are some lawyers that are for criminal cases. There are some lawyers that are for uh, that are for um, marital issues and all that. So you have to be sure that you are engaging the service of a lawyer that is for property and is experienced in it. Do you understand? So any lawyer can prepare your deed of assignment, can prepare your contract, can prepare documentation for that, but not all lawyers are experienced for property acquisition. So I understand that on this platform we have people that are salespersons and also that are also investors that are buying. Do you understand? So I'll touch those things. I believe right now you're getting something. So another thing that you should be mindful of is right now in Lagos for for a registered survey, for a registered survey to be duly registered, the land must be free from all encumbrances, must be free from all government acquisition. So it is very important that um, you before you buy a property, you understand that before you want to buy, it is important that you have to document, because at the end of the day, everybody is after getting a CFO for their property. Do you understand? So, and you don't want to buy a property that you'll not be able to get a CFO at the end of the day. So, for you not to buy a property where you will not be able to perfect your documents, it is important that before you buy it all, you check the status of the land, get a surveyor, get the right professionals, a lawyer, a surveyor, get them to check the land for you. Do you understand? And one thing that business investment does not joke with is to be sure that a land is fit for buying before they push it out at all. Do you understand? There are some of there are properties that I check for them that we do a lot of scrutiny for. We check, we do a lot of study to allow us to be sure that the land is actually fit to buy. So now, as a person that is buying by yourself, I used to say this often. I used to say every now and then that the safest um, way to acquire property is buying from a trusted realtor or a trusted real estate company. It's still the safest. Trust me, you don't want to gamble by trying to get a land by yourself or trying to get it directly from a million. Trust me, you don't want to gamble with it. And the truth is, for any real estate company, for any developer that could get his property to the point of putting a fence or a gatehouse on their land, trust me, they have done so much. Because for you to be able to put a fence on a land that you bought from Ominile, I'm telling you, a lot of shaggy has been seen. But the truth is, you might be looking at the price, buying directly from Ominile and buying from the company. You might be looking at the price and be thinking it does not justify. But the truth is, if you are buying by yourself, what you'll be going through, the things you'll be seeing at the end of the day might be much more, or the money you're going to be spending might be much more than what you get when you buy from a company. So it's very important that you can always trust a realtor or trust a real estate company and buy from them. So, but as a realtor, you have to be sure of what you are pushing out. You have to be sure of who you are selling for, and how to do that as a realtor. Check, be sure, do necessary, do your due diligence. And how do you do your due diligence? Chat, engage a professional lawyer, engage a professional surveyor, and do your due diligence. You know, these people will help you to make sure that you are not buying, and you are not selling the wrong product. And how do you do this? It's very simple. Step one, before you push a product, request for any documents or any title that is attached to the land. Do you understand? Before you push it out, most likely they will give you some documents, and all these documents you might not be able to interpret them. If it's a deed of assignment that's given to you, send it to a lawyer to help you check it. And if it's a survey plan that's given to you, send it to a surveyor to check it for you. Do you understand? You can reach out to Mr. Oweli. You know, he can help you out with this. If there's anything that he needs to reach out to us, he will definitely contact us and we can check and give him back the feedback which we will send to you. Do you understand? So you should request for all necessary documents that is required. Do you understand? ask for survey plan, ask for the CFO if it's a CFO title, ask for a deed of assignment if it is a registered survey and deed of assignment as the title. Do you understand? Ask for these things, request for them. Once you get them, verify them. There are many fake surveys out there. There are many fake CFO out there, and is only a professional that can identify it for you. See, a developer will always want to sell. Do you understand? Just as Mr. Emmanuel said the other time, he will always want to say, I want to close you. And you don't want to gamble. You don't want to sell a property that you earn commission very little today, and in the next 10 years, you are being sought after by DSS. Do you understand? So you don't want to gamble that. There are so many real estate companies out there that I know that when we were still learning, when we were still embryo surveyors, when we were still working with our boss, then they were the top leading real estate developing companies, and right now they are no more. And what happened is they did not do what is necessary. They sold products that are not viable. Do you understand? And the truth is, time will tell. There's no way. Time will tell. Now, another thing is, when it comes to verifying a property, if you are buying directly, because I understand that there are still some people that will still be after buying directly. There's no problem. I'll still advise you. And there's a way to it. Do you understand? There's a way to it because obviously there's a way all these real estate companies also do. But the truth is they will chest off all these things for you. And that's why you don't have to bother about it. All you need to do is to just pay and get your land. It's very simple. But if you are still adamant and you want to purchase from a family, maybe you know them, or maybe you have a link directly to them and you are sure you can, I will still give you this advice. That's of a truth. You can get it and it can be seamless and it can be disastrous. But here is a way. Based on how I have been doing it over time. Number one is most of these families do not have any document attached to the land. Do you understand? And this family, even if they have a survey, most likely it is provisional. Do you understand? So if you have the survey, number one, get a surveyor to go to the property, pick coordinates, send it to Alausa, send it to Surveyor General's office. Know the status of the land, whether the land is free or not, whether it is for the purpose for which you want to buy or not. Number two, get a lawyer who is going to be involved in every step that you take. Do you understand? The lawyer will be involved in why you're going there for inspection, to verify if there's any court case, any petty court case on the land, to verify if there is any to verify if the family has the right to transfer. I mean, if the name of the family is registered with Alausa to have a deed of transfer. Otherwise, even if you get the land, you fence, you're able to, and the name of the family or the family you are buying from does not have the right to transfer ownership, you might end up buying the wrong property. Do you understand? So you have to be sure that all these things are there. So, and it's a lawyer that will do that. A surveyor will check if the property does not have government interest on it. Do you understand? So that you will not buy now, and in the next 2 or 3 years, government will come and collect back the land. Another thing is, if you are buying a CFO property, you have to be sure that the CFO is actually for the land you want to buy. There are so many properties in Sangotedo, Abidjan, and Adesoya area, all these places, that the CFO is actually for the land they are selling. And developers are so gullible as to giving you CFO, like valid CFO document, but it's not for the land you are selling or the land that you want to buy. So, and the only way you can do is to get a surveyor to verify. There are so many registered surveys that it is not for the land that you want to buy or the land that you want to sell. And how do you do it? You verify, get a surveyor to check. Do you understand? There was one particular time that okay, I remember this in Abidjan GRA. I don't know if you saw the trending video of where they were demolishing some buildings, fine buildings, already finished buildings. I'm talking about 50 million, 100 million projects that has been demolished by the government. What happened? They actually bought a CFO property and they did their documentation. But the problem was they bought from the wrong owner of the CFO. So the CFO is valid, but the person claiming the CFO is not the actual owner of the CFO. Do you understand? So they did not buy through the rightful owner. So it is important that you validate the documents. Do you understand? And um, um, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to tell you that you need to follow the due process. You need to do the due diligence. I want you to be able to sell products and say, I am sure of this product. I want you to be able to pay for a product or a land and say, yes, I have done my due diligence. I'm sure I can buy this land. Do you understand? So how do you do that? You check, get a surveyor to check the land and all that. Then let me talk about land measurements. There are so many things I want to touch, but I'm just cutting it bit by bit so that I can touch them. If there's any question, you can type them or you send it directly. So the standard size of the land is actually 1,000 square meter. Do you understand? Half plot is 500 square meter. If you are buying from Omunile, you are buying at 669.78 square meter. If you are buying from a company, they can get it to size for you as low as 250 or 150 square meter. So, but it depends on what you want to, the kind of structure or what you want to, or your budget that determines the kind of size you want to buy. Do you understand? So, if you want to build a bungalow, want to build an office space, or you are buying for a commercial area, it's best that you buy, and most times, I will advise, this is always my advice to people that want to buy certain sizes of land. I used to ask them, do you have an intention for whatever you want to buy? It's very important that you ask your clients, your prospects, or if you are the person that is buying, to ask yourself, what do you really want to use the land for? Do you understand? So ask your prospect or client, what do you intend to do on this land? Oh, I want to build this, I want to do that. Do you understand? Some clients are just oblivious of this understanding, and it is not their fault. And it's the responsibility of the realtor to educate them on these things. Do you understand? So I have some personal clients who buy land through me directly from me, like directly that diaspora, and they don't even understand these things that I need to educate. I would educate them too. Do you understand? So what you need to do is ask. So what you do is, when you are sure or you have an intention for the land, ask your architects. Your architect then comes in. This is what I intend to do. What advice can you tell me to get on the plot size? So the architects can now say, oh, okay, for this kind of structure, get maybe 600 square meter of land. Okay, this is the estate where I want to buy from. They are selling these sizes. What size do you advise me to buy? So, but if you are buying for investment purpose, as many as you can, do you understand? But if you are buying for a particular purpose, as maybe structure or maybe commercial use, then you should actually go to your architect who is going to use the space at the longer run. Do you understand? So that they will not just sometimes designs are confined by the space available. An architect might actually have a better conceptualization for you, but then because of the space, you just have to just manage on some ground. So at that point, you should be able to advise your clients or prospects to actually ask or consult an architect to give you the best advice and the kind of size you can buy. So other things you should look out for when you are buying a property is to be sure that the company you are buying from is actually valid. This one is I think it's something that anybody can do, by making sure that they have a track record, just like Mr. Emmanuel said earlier. Just look through them, look them out, do your homework and just be sure that they have done some things that warrant them to be trusted. Do you understand? And maybe you can actually ask people around, and if also you are not buying from a company now, maybe you are buying directly from family, it's very simple. This is the key. This is what I do most times. I will go to that particular location where I want to buy. There's a name of that family. You go to the family, to that particular location, that community you want to buy from. Ask around. Oh, this is so family. Do they actually have the land? Where is their land? Where is their family house in this particular community? Who is the head of their family? when you ask this thing, most likely before you get to the end of all these questions, you will know what's up. You will know what's up. Do you understand? But just ask around. Just go to that same community, ask around. If you are not chance to do this, get your surveyor involved. They are more close to the locals. They'll be able to do all these things for you. Do you understand? So it's important that you do all these basic checks. There are several other checks, but I think these are the main important things that you should do as regards due diligence. Do you understand? So let me just stop here because of our time, because I know that we've spent so much time in this session. So if you have any question, please do well to let me know. Is there anybody that has a question?
Okay,
Any
thank you so
question
much.
right now?
Thank you so much, Surveyor. So please just drop your question so that we can end the session.
So I want to also remind you that you can always check if a survey document is valid or not by using the plan number. The plan number is always at the bottom left corner of the document, of the survey document. So if you request for the survey document, just check the bottom left corner. You see the plan number of that particular register survey, and you can send it to Alausa, where they will verify if it is actually lodged, and if it is lodged in the name that is on the survey. Do you understand? There are so many fake documents out there, and you just need to be sure you are doing the right thing. Any question? I want to be sure. Hope you are hearing me.
Yes. So okay, yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. So let me just quickly look through the chat as well for previous questions. Just give me a second. So somebody's asking, is survey number the same as tracing number?
Yes. So that survey plan number that I said earlier, that is at the bottom left corner of the survey plan, is the tracing number. It is called the plan number. So that plan number has the initials of the surveyor that surveyed it, the registration number of the surveyor, the plan number, that is the particular number it's the identification number it carries at the land registry, and the state where it was lodged. So there are some surveys you see at the end, you see LA, that's Lagos. If you see OG, that is Ogun State. If you see ED, that is Edo State, and so on. Please, out there, you have to be sure if you are selling a CFO property, make sure the CFO document that is claimed for the land is actually for the land. You have to be very, very careful out there. Don't sell a committed land, while they are using a CFO document for that particular land.
So somebody's asking, Mr. Abraman is asking, can I do the land charting myself at Alausa, or I go through a surveyor?
Okay, so if you are doing it by yourself, they will tell you that is it that well, you can do it yourself, you can do it yourself, but you have to go down to the office directly. But most times it's best to go through a surveyor. Why? The reason is this: if you go by yourself to the land to Alausa will just tell you committed, not committed, and then you not know. You just be like, committed to what? Like, do you understand? But when you go through a surveyor, the surveyor will actually still also go through to Alausa. But the truth is, he will be able to give you much more information. Like, for example, I did a chatting for somebody recently, and the survey plan that was given, the survey plan that was given by the company actually was not in the right location. So, but because I have an experience, I've been in that area before, I was so sure that that place, there's a particular title on the land. So when the client first sent the documents to Alasa, and the report he got was committed. He went to the developer and said, "You are selling committed land." The developer was like, "No, it's not possible," all those kind of things. And then it turned to a lot of tussle. So the clients got back to me and said, "Oh, this is what's happening." I said, "Okay, let me go to the site." I went to site, picked my own personal coordinates, walked around the boundary and picked coordinates. Now sent it to Alasa, did my chatting, did everything, and my own research. And I found out that, oh, actually, the land is not in a committed acquisition. It's sharing boundary with a government acquisition, but the land is not committed. Do you understand? So most likely maybe an error. And then number two, you might not be able to pick the right coordinates by yourself. Sometimes there are lands that you want to buy that there is not enough document that is required. That it just requires that a surveyor goes to the land and pick coordinates. Do you understand? And there's a particular accuracy that is needed. Do you understand? Yeah, it's only a surveyor that will understand those technical things. There are sometimes that the documents that mostly it's best to just go through a survey. It's just best. Why? Because whatever information you're even getting from Alasa, you just need a surveyor to interpret it for you. That's the truth. Because whatever information is given to you, you might not have the full understanding. There are sometimes the Alasa will tell you that it's committed, but actually the land is half committed, half free. Do you understand? So you can do it yourself. I don't dispute that, but it's best that you go through a surveyor. Okay, let me check. I'm seeing some questions here too. I need a legal advice on a transaction whereby there is a delay in delivery of property as captured by the offer letter by a realtor who is now
That
asking for
question has
additional
been
funds,
answered.
claiming that inflation caused the price to increase. How can I go about this? I think Mr. Ole or the legal practitioner will need to answer that.
Yes,
Who is
I've answered that.
expected to sign the survey plan? A registered surveyor is expected to sign a survey plan. A registered surveyor. Do you understand? So now a surveyor is the only person that can verify a survey plan. Do you understand? So, but then there are some things that you can see on the survey plan. If you don't have access to the survey, that I can tell you now. On the survey plan, it should have the name. It should have a beacon number. Now, on that beacon number, now there are two types of survey. There's a provisional survey and there's a registered survey. Most time, a provisional survey is mistaken for a registered survey. Do you understand? That you will be given a provisional survey. A provisional survey just describes the boundary and the location. It is not, if it is not lodged, and if it is not lodged, it's not a registered survey. Do you understand? And so many times people fall victim of this. And it's because they are just so lazy or ignorant of the fact that the surveyor needs to interpret it for them. So if you see a survey and in the survey, so there are so many surveys that is boldly written, provisional copy. You know that it's a provisional survey. There are some that it's not written there. They will claim that it's registered, but it's not registered. How do you know? You see it on the survey plan. The beacon number will carry second number SC/LA for Lagos. Second/SC means second/LA means Lagos. If it is Oyo State, SCOY. If it is Edo State, SCED. If it is Ogun State, SCOG. Like that. So but the best thing is just get a surveyor to interpret. And then sometimes a registered survey that is fake, we have all these things, but it's still fake. How do you know? Until you send the plan number, that is that tracing number someone was asking about when you send it to Alausa, then check the database. There's a database for all registered survey in Lagos. Then you check and be sure that that particular registered survey is actually lodged. It is viable. Do you understand? Any other question? I think I've answered all the questions in the chat.
Yes. So I think that
And
would be
then
all.
Okay.
Okay, please continue. No.
Okay, to also let you know, a CFO can be processed by anybody. Do you understand? You personally, you can process a CFO by yourself. a lawyer can help you to do a CFO, a surveyor can also help you to do a CFO, can process the CFO for you. Do you understand? So it's an open ground. Yeah, it's an open ground. You are free to do it. But sometimes, the people that process this CFO are civil servants, and there is they are all in the Ministry of Lands. There's Ministry of Lands. There's the land. Um, there's the land bureau. There's the charting department. There's Surveyor General's office. Do you understand? So, but in the Ministry of Lands, when you want to process CFO, the Ministry of Lands, you submit the document. The Ministry of Lands will now check that register survey to Surveyor General's office at Hausa and confirm that it's actually duly registered and all documents complete. They will request for your deed of assignment and all those things. So if you go by yourself, you can go, but you know that you are going to be taxed a lot. All this civil servant, you ask you so many things, are asking for money, delay unnecessarily. But if you go through like maybe a lawyer or a surveyor who will most likely know some of these people, they will be able to tip them and just fast track the process. I'm just telling you this for free. So it's always like that, but you can actually do it yourself. You can do it yourself. And for Ekpe, it takes between 6 to 8 months to process a CFO. For places like Ipechuleki, Etiosa, it can take you like maybe a year or two to process the CFO, as the case may be. That is if you have all the valid documents. So if you have the valid documents, if you meet the requirements, if you need the requirements, I can send the requirements to Mr. Emmanuel, who can then share it with you, so that you know the requirements for getting a CFO. And then for getting registered survey, you just need the surveyor to come. But then for a registered survey to be done, the land must be free from all acquisition, from all government enterprises must be free. Otherwise, support the law. So that's it. Okay, there's a question here. Okay, I think I've answered that. How many months to get CFO? So for Ekpe is still rural. That's why it's, and then there are different types of CFO, please. There are different types of CFO. I need to be careful. There are some CFO that are for agricultural purpose, and there are some CFO that are for residential purpose, and there are CFO for commercial purpose. There's global CFO, and there's the normal one. Do you understand? So don't sell a commercial CFO for just about checking. Just check and check. That's just this. See, this whole summary of my my teaching today is check. Just check. Be sure. That's it. I think there's a question here. Okay, the requirements. Sorry, I'll send the requirements. But I can still run through the requirements. The requirement is your registered survey, your deed of assignment, your tax clearance, at least minimum of 3 years, your a valid ID card. Then you are going to be doing a publication to the newspaper for a period of a month. That is publication that you are the owner of the land and nobody is interfering with that. And then with that publication on the newspaper, all those things, and that's all. All those documents will be all for. So there are so many other things, but that is the main important document for you to process your CFO. And then the price, don't tell anybody bamboozle you out there. The price is not fixed for a CFO. It is never fixed. Do you understand? So it is based on this. You work the assessment. You understand? So this register survey will first be checked. Once it's checked, we verify that you are the owner. You have it. You do a certificate, an affidavit of ownership of the land. So they will now come from Alausa. They'll come to the land, check, run inspections and check, and be sure that you are actually, that the particular CFO is actually, that this particular land you want to get a CFO for is actually existing. It's not an audio land you get. So, and then they will now, based on what they see on ground, value the land, do all the assessments, calculate what the amount. But before that time, you are going to be paying a processing fee and all this. pay for the inspection and all that. There are some small payments you make, and then you take a form of maybe like 10K or 20K to start the process. And then maybe with that, they will just work the assessment, and then they will now tell you how much you are going to be paying to the government's purse. And then the process will now start. You now start counting that when you get the certificate. Register survey takes minimum of a month to process. Within a month, your surveyor should be able to get you your register survey within a month. But you get a client copy within a week if it's fast enough. Within a week, you should get. But all in all, as a realtor, have a surveyor who you can always call upon to check properties for you before you sell. And as an investor, have a surveyor, have a lawyer who is going to verify products and lands for you before you pay the money. Do you understand? So that you will not bite your finger at the end of the day. And not just any lawyer, a property lawyer. So I think that's all. Over to you, Mr. Iman.
Okay,
If there's no other question.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. So I know it's not been easy. It's been a very, very long session. And I want to say thank you to everybody that has waited so far. So end the session at this point. Yeah, so thank you all for waiting up to this point. And we look forward to sharing more with you in the future.